sister.
Oh.
Hey.
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 What's going on?
What's up?
How are you?
Not much. We're just having minor calamities. It's all right.
Oh no, what's going on? What's the problem?
Oh, my internet just like cut out just randomly
Oh,
out
no.
of the middle of nowhere.
What the hell?
So I had to do all the troubleshooting stuff. But
Oh,
yeah, I
sorry.
freaked out for a second because I was like, oh no, after the power going out last week, and then so it's like, not again. But yeah, we're back. How's everyone doing?
Are back, yes.
Yeah.
We're back.
Hello,
and
chat.
Yeah, hi chat.
Hot
Welcome.
mics.
Welcome everyone to Red Planet episode 8. First, before we do anything, how about all 4 of us pose for the go live?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Image.
Okay. How are we posing? What kind of mood are we giving off?
Just nice
I'm
and
giving,
natural,
like-
Tim.
We're doing this.
You know, like I'm trying to look snobby. It's hard
I'm
though
trying to
because I
do
have such
what,
a likable face. So I have to
I'm trying to do the opposite of what Mule's doing. But
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
so we do
I had
fusion.
to-
How about you two high five?
Wait, which way do? There's a delay, so I do it one way, and then it's it goes the other way.
I can't.
Wait. So no, it's gonna be out.
This is
No. Wait, is it this way?
Alright, you know what? I'm just going with it.
It was that way. It was.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
And I'm just gonna look confused. I'm gonna be like, what's going on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
like-
All right, well, Mule
Yeah.
tried.
I tried.
You tried.
I tried.
It's that's
I
all that
tried.
really matters at the end of the
Tim
day.
tried a bit. Let's face it. Tim
I
a bit.
tried too much. I think that's just put that on my gravestone. Here
Aw.
lies Tim, who tried too
You
much.
tried too hard.
Oh.
Well,
You
how
got
is
I should be
so
looking
far.
at it. Yeah.
how is chat doing today? If a lot of you are just sticking around from the show that I was just doing, because I also stream on twitch.tv, but some of
Oh,
you might
really?
be yeah, believe it or not, but some of you are probably just got here, so welcome to the newcomers who just got here. Welcome to the people whose first time at watching Red Planet, and welcome back all the people that are just watching. As you can see, Sophie is not with us today. Sophie is on vacation, so tell
Always in our
One like,
hearts.
one prayer.
Always
One
in our
like, one
heart.
prayer. Yeah.
Sophie seems to be having such a fucking good time. I'm so she seems
I
to be having a
know.
blast.
Imagine having fucking mead with the sloth mum Casey explosion. That
I
would be
didn't know
so
that they
sick.
were friends, and now it makes me so. I mean, I don't know. I can't just assume that all the cool people are automatically friends with other cool people. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was pretty. It's really. I don't know. It's really endearing to see her be able to hang out with people and have a good time.
Yeah.
So Sophie won't be with us. So chat. That will mean that today we have we're one person short. So you might have more of an opportunity to be able to get some of your questions asked and answered. So make sure that you have some questions. I know a lot of you have had questions already saved up, because today we're going to be met by someone, an organizer from the IWW, the Industrial Workers of the World, the union that we're always nagging you to join. If you don't have a union that's already the union you join. I mean, you can join more than one union. That's never not a thing. But
Yes.
I know that when we first were talking about unions in the first episode of Red Planet, a lot of you had a lot of questions, and we tried to answer them, and a lot of you asked me those lots of questions the next day on my stream without the rest of the crew, and I was trying to answer them, but ultimately I'm not an expert on organizing, unionization, the IWW for etc. And so we're going to be joined by Matilda, who's going to be able to answer a lot of those questions for you. So make sure you have your questions saved so you can ask them.
And she's in the
Yeah.
chat as well, which is always very nice.
Oh,
so,
yeah?
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's right there, Dalmationer, yeah.
Oh yeah. There she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there at the bottom. So
Um,
Nicole, can I grab that picture of you? so I can
yeah.
see
I
that?
just posted 3. You can pick whichever
just-
one you want.
Okay.
Oh, they're
right.
loading right now. So
I'm in
Oh, okay.
I'm in charge of the Red Planet Twitter for this week, I think. So
Oh.
get ready for it to explode.
oh yeah, is that
okay.
right?
It's gonna pop off. I'm a social media king.
Oh shit, really?
These pictures are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounded so sure of that.
I'm really
yeah.
confident about it. Yeah, it's.
You know,
yeah,
I
it's
can.
about to pop.
Yeah. Kings typically have to tell everyone they're kings. You're like, yeah, by the way, I'm a king.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm definitely a
shit.
king.
We have a
Definitely.
real king in our hands.
Yeah.
By the way, I think the first picture is the best one because you're all
I
like
know.
laughing.
Me too. Yeah.
Hang
Yeah.
on. Okay. let's
And
get that one
Mew
now.
looks funny.
Okay, it's going. It's going now. I just.
Okay, good. Hell yeah. Nice. So chat, make sure
Yeah,
you
we
follow the Red Planet Twitter account. It's red_planet_TV. You'll get all your sickest, sweetest updates on Red Planet things. And also, if you have a chance to do your homework and you have like an evidence of it, sometimes homework isn't evidence-y. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
But like sometimes if you want to like tell us what you did, or if you want to take a screenshot of your membership, some of you did that when we had that episode about joining a union. Some of you just were like, hey, I joined a union. You blurred your name out, but you showed like the screenshot of like, hey, you welcome. And we'll retweet that. If you want those delicious internet clout points, you know, hit up the Red Planet Twitter, twitter.com/red_planet_TV. And that's where we're going to be tweeting the go live tweet as well. So that's what Tim's working on.
And we also, when we go live and stuff like that, like I've just tagged, you know, like obviously it's from my tweet, but also tagged Mule, Bunny, and I've also tagged Matilda's Twitter, so go and follow her there as well.
Sweet.
And you can see like our other guests that we've had on as well. You should, like, everyone that we've had on so far is a recommended Twitter follow.
100%. Follow everything.
Yeah. Just you know, keep informed on what's going on. Good. Yeah, sweet. So I wasn't here last week.
Tim, you should probably write the URL where to find us on the tweet, so they know where to go.
Oh, did I?
I don't think they know where to go.
Wait, are you talking to me?
No, I said Tim.
I did the tweet on the Red Planet
I did
one.
the tweet from my own.
Oh, sorry,
Twitter.
I was looking at Tim because Tim said he tagged me. Sorry, this is.
I put it in the replies. I put the link in the replies so we get.
We're just like a well-oiled machine.
This is a mess.
It's going really well without Sophie. Sophie's definitely not the linchpin.
We
don't
don't
worry.
need Sophie. I've already said this. How many times have I been like, everyone, guys, we don't need Sophie. Dead weight.
Definitely not falling apart. It's definitely not
Having our first schism. Yeah,
but yeah. So Tim wasn't here last week. We missed you, Tim. We missed you.
Was I always in your hearts?
Yes.
Was I never forgotten?
We never forgot you.
Literally.
All those other things.
Not 1 second.
I think a couple people asked if you died because of the image that we had up, and no, you didn't. Rest assured, Tim is with us right now. It's fine.
Yeah, I came back.
Yeah.
I did. I came back. It's and I came back. I grabbed all my souls. I'm ready to go again.
Nice.
I was in. There was a cyclone. Well, I went out of town, and then there was a cyclone, and then I came back, and my power was knocked out for a couple of days. And then, just before we went live today, my internet went out. So it's just, it's just all fun and games.
All fun.
That's so frustrating.
Should we get into the news?
What was the homework for last week? Because I looked in the notes, but it wasn't written in there.
So the homework for last week was to like basically Google yourself. Like to basically like try to see if you can like snoop on yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To see if you can snoop on
yourself. Your like digital footprint or whatever it is.
Yeah. So
okay, that's interesting.
That's like the major TLDR. It was a very detailed homework. There was a lot of details to it, but I do it all the time anyways. I know my chat's very familiar with Googling themselves.
Yeah. It's kind of a thing you have to do really as like a content creator, innit? Because like people can form really parasocial relationships with you. Like I sometimes have people, like some streamers are okay with like people knowing their first names and stuff, but like me, I'm just kind of like, no, don't ask me any questions about that.
That's perfectly valid too. It's really creepy out there.
Yeah. So it's like I think it's funny. It was funny when I think it was like, I can't remember who came up with it, but it was like all of us. We all basically like said it. Yeah, that's the best thing to do. And like I just remember thinking like, I do that all the time anyway. I've done the homework already.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I feel like it. I mean, I've Googled myself a couple times, and it usually just comes up with like Twitter threads or like like sometimes when like a news site or something will like embed a tweet that you've made about like some political thing or whatever, like a bunch of shit like that, or even just like my professional like work stuff.
That's never happened to me. I don't think any news has ever embedded anything. They've written
New
about
Zealand
me,
news
but
is
it's
like wild. Oh really?
Oh yeah, no, it's always like gamer websites like greedy streamer yells again. Like it's just or streamer, something about a wardrobe malfunction. They'll be like, they'll show the image, but they'll blur it out, and it's like it's very dramatic. So I'm like, no, I've never had my words actually.
That's wild.
I think about my words.
I've had a couple where, and I still get every now and then someone will like bring it up, or someone will like message me and be like, "Are you this guy?" or whatever. But it's just because the New Zealand news cycle is way different, where it's like they'll make news out of like anything. If it's a slow news day, they'll just go through Twitter and they'll just find like someone with a hot take, and they'll be like, "This is like." We're pushing this out. This is a story today.
You just described Twitter, though. That's what Twitter is. Twitter is like a bunch of scavengers, like seeking opportunities to just like sensationalize. Even just me being like, I really like eating cereal, and all of a sudden that's gonna be like something offensive. It's
streamer likes cereal, even though she says she's a communist. What? Yeah. How can you want such decadence?
One time it was me tweeting about Tony Hawk's, and I actually ended up going on the TV, on the news about it.
Wait, you've told us about this? Yeah, what was this again?
It was just like, because I've like talked about like the kind of like appropriation of our like traditional tattooing and stuff like that before on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And there was one time when they remastered Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, where they put in these like in the tattoos that you can choose for your character, they had like, it was like instead of brown face, it was like poly face or something like that, and it was like like traditional facial tattoos and stuff, and it was just like really like just real corny. And I made a tweet about it, about how like how lame it was.
I remember that tweet. It was like a year or two.
Yeah.
It was something not that
it was
too
like
long ago.
Probably like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And and then it got, then there was like this whole news story blew up, because there's like a bunch of other things like that have happened over the years. Other things I've spoken out about, similar things or whatever. And then, then this a news show, Te Ao Tapatahi, got in touch with me and were like, "Hey, do you want to actually come on and talk about that?" And I was like, it's kind of like, I don't think it's newsworthy myself, but then a friend of mine, Tina Nata, who is like a really well-known activist and has talked about a lot of this kind of stuff, and like has actually talked about like kind of like a lot about like indigenous people having agency over their own culture and all this kind of stuff like that. And I was like, she's probably gonna have a better conversation than me just talking about like Tony Hawk's or whatever like that. So I was like, I'll go on if my friend Tina can come as well. And they were like, yeah, sweet, or whatever. And and so we just went on, and that was cool. It was Maori news, so it was like, I think like a less of a hostile news environment.
I was gonna say, because it sounded first like it was just some like Newsweek to be like, let's be able to, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they can be just as like kind of like shitty or whatever, but like in general or whatever. And it was just like this weird thing of like, this is just because like 2 days ago I just tweeted about Tony Hawk's and like made some like hot take joke or whatever like that, and now I'm on the news. That's that's like the kind of thing that happens all the time. Yeah. Okay. But speaking of news, should we talk about some news?
That
we're not directly involved with. Yeah, that's a segue. That's news talk.
Do you want
us people that have been on the news before? We know these words.
Whose story is the dogs were going to become cops but instead have been rescued?
Mine.
That's yours. Do you
want
to go
on
first,
my Discord, actually. I was using my chatters not only for their sub money but also for their unpaid labor, and I was like, hey, do y'all know any good news, good leftist news? And one of you linked this. It was dogs that were going to become cops but have instead been rescued.
Ooh,
which is pretty exciting, especially because I'm the official Red Planet vegan.
That's right.
Officially.
Oh, I didn't know you were vegan. You're vegan. Wow.
Yeah, I'm vegan.
Whoa, what?
Yeah,
oh wait, Sophie's
vegan.
Wow. Where's Sophie? No. Oh my gosh. wait, I got this. I'm gonna fix it. I'm fixing it right now. Oh dear. Oh God. Oh. That was a close one.
Oh geez, Louise. Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking like, like without that picture of Sophie telling us to never forget, how would we know?
Yeah.
Like, we might just forget.
Yeah, we might.
That's true. Very good point.
She's not always in our hearts by being on our screen surrounded by hearts.
That's true. By the way, credit to HuskerDo, my mod HuskerDo, for making this image. If you didn't know.
Yeah, because I was actually desperately Googling how to do "She Will Be Missed" meme before the show, because I thought that we wouldn't have one.
I love this excellent gamer in the corner.
Excellent gamer.
Have you sent her that?
No.
Oh, you need to send it to her immediately.
Well, she just have to tune into the show to see it.
Sophie,
that's true.
You know, give us that view. Give us that Sophie view.
Come on, Sophie. Yeah, where's the Sophie numbers? That's what I want to
Chat, know. We're going to be asking you at the end of this stream how you think it went without Sophie. So make sure it's going to be a scale from 1 to 5. And we're going to be asking you. So pay attention, okay, to like all the things we're doing or not doing, whatever. And, take notes.
Even I can't pay attention to what we're doing.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be here to keep y'all on track, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Here we go.
Appreciate that.
57 Labrador pups have arrived at an animal rescue center all at once, and they're causing chaos, which is very, very cute.
Very loud. That's so good.
Wait, what is this? Oh, here is the...
is
this supposed to be like some sort of... I didn't even watch this video. I just got the
it's
story.
like a movie trailer.
This is
like a slow-mo tail wag.
What the hell?
So these dogs were destined to be like drug and explosive detector dogs used by the police. And so it's really cool. I don't know how exactly this came about. They came from someone with a contract to look after dogs be trained as bomb or drug dogs, but they've decided not to continue with that. So however, whatever, luck of the draw, this is so fucking cute. I love it. Dawn of the Labradors.
The Dawn of the Labradors.
Oh, that looks just so fun. Look at all those little puppers.
Oh, little puppy coats and puppy paws and puppy teeth. But yeah, so they're not going to be exploited by cops and probably shot by a cop.
Brilliant.
Which is wonderful news. Yeah. You take them all? All right. Well,
They... They also find it really hard to rehome drug dogs and bomb sniffer dogs and stuff like that, right? After the cops are done with them, or am I thinking more of like the attack canine?
Because no one wants to
I don't know. I don't know the story.
Knock on them for their stash.
Yeah, that's it. You're literally a bag of weed in your pocket when you go and check out the dog, and they'll just be like, like just jumping on
this dog, we're giving you a dirty look and picking up the phone and hovering his paw over there, the one on button.
Jeez. So yeah, that's fun news. Can we get some claps in the chat? Because Sophie's not here, I will be taking the reins, and I would like some bun claps in the chat, or bun.
Can we get some good boys in chat?
Good boys.
Yeah. Good boy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not a sub, here's the emote that you can use. The one I just put in the chat. If you're a follower, you can use it. Or if you're a sub and you want to use a really derpy version of the bun clap, you can use that one as well. Bun clap. Wow. Great news. Great. Okay. See? Wonderful. Okay. Next. I like how who put this in the notes as good news? Who put this?
Wait, what?
I restructured it very rapidly before the end because.
Okay. So you didn't mean this is good news that the Queen got COVID. You were like,
no.
I think. No. I mean, it's like.
It depends what you think. You know what I mean? Like we don't really, what do you call it? We don't like to promote these kinds of views on Red Planet. It's not cool. It's against terms of service to be happy that the Queen might die, I think. So yeah, we don't promote those kinds of views. But Queen's maybe got COVID. I don't know. It's quite an interesting one. Because it's sort of like, so my brain is really bad for this stuff because I just don't believe for a fucking second that they would have let the Queen get in a scenario where she could have got COVID. So I'm kind of thinking like, is this going to be one of those things where it's like, in a week, it's going to be like, oh look, she's fine, and that's
like it's kind of like.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal. Look, the Queen's nearly 100 years old, and she got it, and she didn't die. So you could just like get your gran to go to work again. Get your gran in the mines.
Get back in the mines. Gran.
Yeah, come on, gran. Right. Like what the fuck?
I think you're going a little far. The idea that the Queen,
she probably got COVID.
She got COVID because I believe she probably got COVID because she's surrounded by a lot of people probably think they have like
a bunch of Tories that don't believe in it.
Yeah, a bunch of Tories that don't believe in it, or a bunch of people with a lot, like very much, like a lot of money, a lot of power, who think, you know, nothing ever is gonna hurt me. So they're probably the types that don't really have the most, you know, if they get COVID, they can just get like the creme de la creme treatment like Trump got, and then everything's fine. So they don't have to even concern themselves, you know.
This is kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, this is kind of where I'm at, because she will get that treatment, and
it's like how
she
Trump
will be fine.
Yeah, and that sucks.
Yeah,
and it doesn't suck that she gets better. It sucks that like it's the narrative that's going to come out of it is like, see, it's just like the flu or something.
Yeah,
the flu kills people too, for the record.
It does. Thank you, because it's so frustrating when people say that. It's like, why the fuck do you think people get recommended to have a flu shot every year? It's like, you know, what do you think this is, man? So a very interesting one. And I wanted to bring up as well, this is like the second bit of Queen news that we've had this week, because
really,
and I think it was this week. It might have been last week actually, so I might be getting confused there. But it's recent Queen news, in that she has used public money. But don't forget, everyone, the Queen gets public money in order to live, as well as other.
All the royals, it's all public money.
It's all public money, and
she doesn't do anything though, right? She just kind of is like a mascot for England. Like a
it's kind of like I think that they are obsessed with keeping the Queen in this country, because it is such a I guess it's like a poster for people are in charge and you don't question it. Like, that's it. Like, she's in charge. So are the people in the House of Lords. So are the people in the House of Commons.
And, I mean, I think that's like a thing. A lot of people, you know, there's like a lot of people that are like, they can feel angry at, you know, politicians or whatever like that, but they believe in the royal family in this way. Like, the Queen had never let that happen to us. The Queen's got our back, you know, even though it's like, and so many times the royal family has absolutely not had their back whatsoever, you know?
Never. Actually, never. She always agrees with Parliament. Like, whatever it is, she's like, yeah, that's fine. There's never been, like, there's not,
Like, I mean, some politicians you could say, like, you know, like, even like a lot of, like, Tory dickheads or whatever like that, you get some of them where it's like, okay, they do actually see a working class person, even if it's just across the street every now and then. But the Queen is like so far, like her life is so abstracted from a working class person.
It must be so bizarre.
Like, she's got no idea what's going on, you know? She's got no idea what people want or how to, you know, like, or anything like that. So it's like, it's ridiculous to believe that she has any kind of, you know, like, I guess, like, not even that she has sympathies. It's like she wouldn't even know what to sympathize with, you know?
True.
Like,
absolutely. She can't relate to it at all. But yeah, I was gonna go into there. Alleged sex offender and possible nonce Prince Andrew, her son, has now been receiving from the Queen £12 million of public money in order to defend his case in court.
The case where he has his hands on an underage teen in Epstein's Island.
Yeah, it's that one case. Yeah, it's that one case. Yeah, and she's given him £12 million of public money in order to, you know, defend his case of alleged.
And it's like, I don't think it's.
Can we get some cringe emotes in the chat? I don't. Whatever you want to use. Bun cringe. Any cringe emote. An emote you think is cringe. You know, that's appropriate. Can we get some cringe in the chat? That is extremely cringe. It wasn't not even to defend the case, but to pay her off? What do you mean, Rob Russo of the Rob Russo Show?
Oh, I think Rob might be right here. I think that it was like to do an out-of-court settlement. Let me just Google this real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So 12 million settlement.
Wait, a settlement? So that's like a lot. So he's being sued?
Hang on a second.
Is no criminal?
Would be
there's no criminal.
Prince Andrew. Okay, so yeah, one of the first things that comes up with here is Prince Andrew ridiculed by aides with nursery rhyme after £12 million court settlement. So it appears here. Let's have a little look.
So that's like basically giving the victim money to be like, we're just going to resolve this here and now, right?
Yeah.
Hush, hush.
So that's like Yeah. So he's not actually gonna, go to have the day in court. He's not gonna get charged with anything or whatever like that. But and usually a lot of them, they come with agreements where it's like, okay, we're gonna settle this now, and you're not actually allowed to talk about it ever again.
So essentially, obviously we have to say from a legal point on this podcast, live stream, that it is still allegedly a paedophile, but it's why would you give £12 million to someone you've never met, apparently, or and never, you don't even know, for something that you never did? It's interesting. It's just something to think about.
If you had a good case, if you had nothing to hide or whatever like that, why would that be necessary? Especially if you came from such a powerful family, you had, all this stuff going for you or whatever. Like, man, I imagine there would have to be something you were really scared of to really kind of try and avoid court, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, I feel like maybe it's just like, it's like a little thread on your, on the side of your, like on your jumper or whatever like that. You keep pulling it and it keeps coming, and then everything starts unraveling. Like maybe Prince Andrew was just, that case could have been the thread.
Could have been.
I only wear my clothes once and I throw them away, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
And you call yourself a communist.
People that wear clothing like more than once, and then they like it falls apart or something. Threads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about the our state mandated woolen jumpers that we that we all get under communism.
Yeah, the genderless exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to dye them black because Pol Pot said so, basically, and Pol Pot is definitely communism.
I want to read DJ Che's comment because I think they clarified the whole deal. The Queen was paying for his defense, and the new news is that the Queen was paying hush money so the woman doesn't ruin the Queen's party. So
there you go. Yeah,
more money on top of the money already given for not only the defense but now hush money. I'm gonna say it. I don't like the Queen. I don't like her.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean,
whoa.
I'm gonna, I
don't want to be like a crass American, but she does not.
What?
I don't like her. No, to the Queen.
So brave. Why would you say something so controversial and so brave?
I'm gonna say, my people haven't always, had a great relationship with with the British, with the royals, with the Queen, and what she represents. Obviously don't like to see an old person, like sick and dying or whatever like that. But also, like it doesn't really, it doesn't weigh on me,
They're not tugging your heartstrings, Tim.
Also,
we're not talking about Betty White. Not Betty White.
But also, I know we're spending way too long on this topic, but I have to ask: is the Queen even doing the things? Do we have confirmation the Queen is I hear this and I'm signing this, or is it just the Queen?
Yeah. It is like a nebulous. It is kind of like a nebulous position because there is not really.
Yeah, she exists.
There's not much. Whenever there's footage of it, it's kind of like Bigfoot sightings. That's what it feels like on the news. It's like, they've spotted her coming out of Windsor Castle. They're like, oh my God, great film. Because these journalists are desperate to get $1,000 for this footage of the Queen just being outside. And it's so they don't really get her sitting down signing things or doing things. It's just oh, well, she's going to go. They'll film her for PR stunts, for example. I don't doubt she's done something with Maori people, Tim, where she's
no, she has. She'll come and there'll be a little customary kind of thing or whatever like that. There's a couple of royals that come over the years, but it's all kind of it's kind of cringe, and it's a lot of they're really kind of it's just it'll be run by some tourist business, or something like Tamaki Maori village or whatever like that will have a greeting or whatever. But I mean, there is obviously respects paid by actual if she's coming into an area, the tribe will actually welcome her in, sort of thing, because even if you see her as the head of the evil empire or whatever like that, we still have kind of protocol for extending respect and all that kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
But
yeah.
But I don't know, I don't think it's one of those things where it's most people I know that are kind of politically, most Maori that are politically aware or whatever are opposed to what we refer to as the crown, or that, like anything that is like I guess like Pacquiao government and everything like that is kind of referred to as like the crown, and it's like not so much like the individual, like like I don't think any royal would ever be at risk of like getting jumped or whatever like that, but the institution that they represent or whatever is like kind of like I guess considered an enemy to a lot of people over here.
For sure. And that's why it's so horrific, because it's these PR stunts of indigenous people that have been like fucking systematically
they'll take a photo and they're like, look, like it's like like imperialism, colonialism, it's over. There's this photo of like like one of the princes coming and like shaking hands with like some dude or whatever like that. But
absurd. Like I've seen like pictures of like Prince William being carried on a fucking throne by like black people. It's horrific. Gross. It's absolutely heinous. So if you're confused about the Queen and you're from America, she's bad. She's bad.
You reckon like they're just gonna do like the like the Michael Jackson Tupac hologram thing and see if they can get away with it? Like she might not even be still around, right? Like she like
the thing is it like
hasn't it been it's been a while since the last public appearance, right?
Yeah, well that's the thing. It's like, so it is an interesting thing, because I know a lot of British political commentators on Twitter have been talking about, if the Queen actually dies, the country might finally lose its mind more than it ever has done before, because there are so many people who are like, they are like you say, Tim, like sort of they cling on to this image of the Queen as if she's like protecting us from like horrific government and stuff. So there are like people who are moderate left who love her to bits and like think that she's really good, and there are people who are moderate right and then further right who are just like don't say anything about the Queen, she's perfect kind of thing. And if that happens, it will, I don't know, it's literally like she's been there for so long. And nobody gives a shit about Prince Charles. No one cares. He's just a weirdo. Like, he's the most British thing in the world is like when people make threads about Prince Charles's weird hands. Like, he's just got weird hands. What? And like British people are just like, what's up with his hands? Like, what's going on there? They just don't give a shit. So it's really, really fucked. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens if she does die. I don't like speculate people dying really, but I
mean, it's like one of those things where it's like, I mean, everyone, even before the COVID thing, everyone's been like, she's gonna be gone any day soon anyway. It's like kind of like it's been coming for a while. It's absolutely what he does have weird hands.
It looks like he's wearing I just think
it might be gout. I just think he might have gout.
It does look like like a medical.
No, I think it's a skin suit. I'm pretty sure it's a skin suit. I don't know. I don't want to be controversial,
actually, no. Speaking
we
of,
should
of skin suits.
Those kinds of things.
If we're gonna say speaking of skin suits, I'm gonna say we need to talk about the next topic.
Exactly. That's exactly why we ordered it this way. Yes, perfect.
Okay. So this is actually your plan. To put Queen COVID as in the beginning, as where we talk about good. Okay, great.
Because obviously the trucker convoys, they love shit about that, right? They love to be like, oh, there's a cabal of pedophile elites who are ruling us, and they're probably aliens in a skin suit, right? So the people who are part of that, the people who are part of the trucker convoy that we're going to be talking about now is like,
I have a pet peeve. And I would like to announce it to everyone. So if you, first of all, chat, who knows of this truck? Press 1 if you know the deal with the trucker convoy or the Ottawa uprising, whatever terminology. Press 1 if you know what that is, you know about it, or press 0 if you don't.
That's a lot of ones.
Well, because I've been talking about
Trucks Clan.
I think it has been dominating news cycles.
Okay, so a lot of people know. We will do a quick rundown on what it is. If you want to know, see really good coverage on the Ottawa thing, I highly recommend watching Rob Rousseau's channel. He's been covering this a lot and doing a really great job at it. But I wanted to announce that I have a huge issue calling it a trucker convoy because you are accepting fascist framing. The framing of fascist is that this is a convoy of truckers. Now, that's not actually true. That's not actually true. The vast majority of people are not truckers, but they are petite bourgeois, SUV owners or something.
Yeah,
so they either
absolutely.
own trucking companies or they just own companies that are not trucking related, and they're just it's like a January 6th like collection type of like people. Like same demographics, same occupations. They are not truckers. Please do not like adopt the framing that fascists have given you. It's so tricky because sometimes you'll think you are rejecting it, but in actuality there are still bits. You're like, okay, I'm taking the name, but then I'm going to reject your framing. But the name is part of the framing in this case. So yeah, I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, totally. And it's the same thing down here, like, you know, like the convoy that we've had that is kind of that emulated the Canadian one. Like I was looking at it and there was like maybe like a handful of trucks, and the rest are just like these gigantic expensive SUVs that are like, you know, they don't even have any like mud on them. They're like, you know, they're not
like they just bought it for the
like
occasion.
Vehicles or anything.
They're just like, it'd be so cool if I just got a new car for this one. You know, it'd be awesome. And show them to your friends.
And a lot of them sign written with like, you know, businesses or whatever like that. And it's like these are like, you know, business owners using their vehicles. And there was even like one dude I saw that was complaining on Facebook, and someone had screenshotted it saying that his boss had taken his truck to join the convoy and that he couldn't work because, you know, he's like, oh, the boss that owns the company or whatever has taken my truck, so I got like a week off, which I think is kind of funny because it's like, you know, like give me your, you know, like give me your working class shit. Like my fucking.
It's so horrific.
Yeah,
honestly.
DJ Chase says like the people who flew to DC on private planes for January 6th. Yeah, because we're so oppressed. I'm so oppressed. I'm flying there in my private plane.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we've had a similar thing where, you know, this convoy went down to the capital, Wellington, and there's been like a kind of occupation in the grounds around our parliament for like a week or so, just over a week now. And it's like a whole bunch of just, you know, like kind of anti-vax hippies, and there's all kinds of different groups. There's like a significant like far right presence, like all of the major far right groups of people there. There's like literally people there where it's like, oh yeah, this guy like firebombed a marae, which is like a, you know, traditional Maori kind of you know, like a community center sort of thing. There's like another guy who's like notable for like mailing bombs to left-wing activists. There's like, you know, all these people, but there's like so many people that are just straight up millionaires, like that are there, you know, like
oppressed like, millionaires. It breaks your heart.
Famous entertainers. There's like this wild turf woman who is like was one of the Real Housewives of Auckland, you know, like when we had that TV show. There's like this guy Russell Coates, who's like this like millionaire like yachting champion guy or whatever, just, you know, people like that. And it's like they're all staying in like hotels and shit, but like they come down and act as mascots, and they, you know, like whip up all the you know, these like poor misled working class people. And you know, and then they like go back to their things. But then, and it's like wild, like you know, there's like all these people that are like, we are the real patriots and all this kind of shit. And there's like even like there's some Maori kind of like fringe groups that are kind of like their own whole weird thing. But and it's wild. They're taking over all of the grass area outside Parliament, and they're kind of expanding out into the streets around it, harassing businesses, all this kind of stuff. They've converted the War Memorial Cenotaph into their bathroom, which has like been really like mind blowing for a lot of boomers that are like, you know, like that. Like, there's all these people like, in New Zealand, like. Yeah. So like, there's like this whole thing in New Zealand where like conservatives and stuff love the memory of like the Great War and, you know, the Anzac tradition and all this shit. And then they see like all these people that they agree with kind of going down there and like shitting on the war memorial, you know, as they occupy the space. So a lot of people are being like, what's going on? You know, it's like, but the whole thing is like, it like lacks any kind of real clear ideological kind of thing. It's like everyone down there they all believe in all different stuff, except for they all agree that they, you know, they don't like the vaccine mandates and stuff, and they're trying
they're mobilized but not organized, right?
Yeah. And so there are people down there that are trying to organize different factions to different ends or whatever, but like they've been giving out you know, like different groups have offered different kind of like lists of demands, and they're all different. But most of them are like very like they're unreasonable demands because they're intentionally unreasonable because they're trying to escalate. Like a lot of them, it's not just like about the mandates or anything. They're like, we'll only stop when we can have a Nuremberg style trial for like the prime minister and all the people, or like most of them want to like they're just straight up, we want to dissolve the government and all this stuff like that. But it's like these are just people that like a lot of them like they don't have any clear like path forward or ideas about what they want to do or anything. They're just like, we're here in the moment and we're gonna take down the government. And it's like it's very like it's very January 6th.
So
kind of
what I want to know, sorry to cut you off, Tim, sorry, go on.
No, that's right.
So what I want to know is Canada actually doing vaccine passports? Are they actually doing that?
Well, yeah, so that's what I couldn't tell, because the thing down here is that it's like we have vaccine passports and stuff like that, but the mandates that a lot of them are protesting, most of the industries that they're complaining about are all like, it's all like a private thing, it's like businesses are choosing to do it themselves, which is, so they're like going down the government to be like, no, you got to stop that. And it's like, I don't know if that's, so that's what you want the government to have more control over businesses? Like, what do you, like what's going on here?
Because like in the UK, when anti-vaxxers protest, they're just not bothered. Like, well, they are, but sorry, the government aren't bothered about vaccine mandates. They're not trying to do that. Like, they're actually actively ending lockdown early so that more people go and work and fucking die. Yeah. Like, they're not bothered about that. And these anti-vaxxers are all like, and there was like a convoy in the UK as well that went alongside the one in Canada, but it didn't materialize into anything nearly like what it is in Canada. And but it is all like, we don't want any more lockdowns, and it's like, you're not getting any. Like, chill out. Like, you're actually you're getting what you want. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I see both.
I want to make sure we don't talk about like just random details about this too much, because we have Matilda's coming on in like about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
cool.
let's set this because I do want I would love for Matilda to be able to discuss with us what her from her perspective how to describe the difference between like a left-wing protest, a working class protest, organized working class protest, versus, which I know that is not her wheelhouse, but she is I feel like unions, someone who is an organizer for a union would have a really good grasp on like what a working class thing looks like versus, and like some of the definitive things, like for one, if you own a business, you're not working class. It's not working class then. And like shit like that. So like I wanted to make sure that we can set the stage for this before we go too far. But like, so basically what I wanted to get out is that what we'll call, I guess, the Ottawa uprisings. I know some of you have some funny names for it, but I know the funny names are less understandable for people who are just coming in. So like the Ottawa
one's going to
uprising,
understand what Ram Ranch resistance
or like
means,
oath occupation. Yeah. So like you might know it as the trucker convoy. Don't call it a trucker convoy. I really am. I please don't say that. Please do not adopt the framing of fascists to make it seem like this is in fact working class people, because they're trying to say that this is a working class thing, and there's all sorts of like, some pretty people that describe themselves as progressive but end up just being fascist and allying with fascists. They're trying to insist that you like ally with these petite bourgeois dipshits who are horrible. Like they're not interested in working class people. They're not interested in expanding working class power. They're looking to diminish working class power. They are horrible business owners. So like I just want to make sure that we understand the basics of this. Basically it's a collection of trucks, like some semis, but mainly like SUVs and like private, just a bunch of small business owners and a smattering of working class truckers that are showing up in like one big cluster and honking their horns for like days, weeks, I don't know, to protest, quote unquote, that they have to wear a mask and get vaccines. gets vaccinated. That's apparently what they're saying. Although it seems like if you're showing up and you're flying a swastika flag, that I don't know if your problem is vaccines. I'm pretty sure your problem, it's a code. It's just coded for just like any of these right wing, like forms of propaganda. It's typically not what the thing that it's typically not what they're telling you it is. Like the right doesn't.
Well, yeah, I think it was like. Initially, they so what was it? It was like they were upset about the mandates coming in and saying that because a lot of these people travel from America to Canada and back and stuff, and they said that like these mandates were gonna mess with them or whatever. So they actually got given an extension. The government said, okay, we've got until this point to figure it out or whatever, and then a bunch of them were like. Like a bunch of people just went and, sorted it out. A bunch of others decided not to. And then the right wing kind of just saw the crack and then they turned it into the whole culture war kind of thing, And that's when it's become everything about the masks and all that kind of shit, which is exactly what's happened down here as well. It's like just co-opted by like the worst kind of people and stuff. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying like, oh, like a real communist would see all these working class people organizing down there and they would go in and they would like, they would steer the conversation towards the left or whatever. And then, and like they would,
it's such like a non-reality thing to
say. Yeah. It's just like,
these are people
I saw someone talking about on Twitter. It's like one of those Reddit posts where everyone's like, oh yeah. And then I went down there and everyone clapped and then, like Obama was there and shit. It's like, this is not like reality,
And it's also super not safe. It's an extremely white guy thing to say. Yeah, I'm just going to go there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, guy who's sitting at the top of like every ID poll, like demographic, like whatever, like you're not talking. How dare you say to the masses without any sort of like clarification that you should in fact go to where Nazis are and try to tell them I'm a communist and here you have to hear me out on shit. Like that is not safe for people. For the record,
you will end up getting.
They will be like, "Thank you for bringing yourself to us. You will be the first to be thrown
They try
out
to
of the
find you to hurt you.
Like
you're going over there and be like, I heard on the internet my favorite debate bro said I should fucking debate you in the marketplace of ideas and you be on our team. It's like you're living in a fantasy land.
I said this to fucking someone. Sorry, Tim. Go on.
I was gonna say there's a reason why all of like the really successful kind of like like socialist, communist kind of movements over the years have started with education, community education, reading, teaching working class people about these things. You can't just go in there and be like, hey, actually, I'm a communist and we can overthrow the government and then we can do communism. And no one's going to be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, I've lived an entire life being, like brainwashed by fucking, like Yankee propaganda about how communism is evil. But, thank you, based Redditor, for telling me, it's like, no, it's just absolutely not going to work like that.
And it's absolutely hilarious because like the kind of fascists that you get in the UK are literally like on steroids, on cocaine, like pissed up on lager, like all together, a bunch of just like red-faced gammon bastards. You try and debate those in the marketplace of ideas, bro.
Yeah.
See how it goes, man. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not going to
like,
go the way that you want it.
For so many of them, like anti-communism is their main thing. Like for a lot of these groups, that's literally what holds them together. That's the glue that keeps them together. It's like even more so than like the anti-vax, anti-mandate stuff like that. You get like these white supremacist groups and just other kind of like far right dickheads or whatever, and they all like they agree on some things, disagree on others, but most of them are just gonna have this like anti-communist streak that binds them together. It's like you can't just show up and be like, like, good evening, fellow proletarians.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just the same proletariat, you'll get chinned.
Yeah.
So I want to read Rob's comments. And again, if mods could shout out Rob Rousseau, he's been doing so much good work on this. Like, I cannot like express enough how
I just love it how it's like it always comes back to Rob.
It does.
Like, oh
it
yeah,
really
Rob's
does.
in the chat. Like,
I can't wait for him to be on the show so we can get rid of all this. Just get it all out, and then we can just go back to forgetting about Rob Rousseau. But as it stands, we are acknowledging Rob Rousseau. He's been doing so much good coverage on this. Rob Rousseau, a actual Canadian, too. So that's a valuable, oppressed perspective that we need to center and uplift.
Yes.
But I want to read some of his comments. He says, hard to underestimate how much this has tortured people who live and work on this area for weeks now. Yeah, because these so-called working class the so-called working class movement is terrorizing service workers, really screaming in their face, like coughing in their face, refusing to respect, and even like, it's not even just, it's disrespectful, obviously. It's traumatic, but it's also like infecting people with COVID. Like, and I'm sure there's people that are gonna die because of these dipshits, these assholes.
Yeah.
Just horrible. So no, there's not a working class. You don't see a working class movement that's going around terrorizing service workers. Also, he says, like many of these folks came from the organized Islamophobia movement from 2017. They're literally the same people. Yes. And so like we're yeah. And they, yes. So it's not a working class uprising. It is a petite bourgeoisie temper tantrum that is trying to masquerade itself as a working class thing. Same with Trump, same with all these faux populists, or these faux populists that try to insist that they are one of the people and they're fighting against the elite, when in actuality they are trying to manipulate people into believing that so they can further their own slice of the pie, or have bigger slice of the pie.
That's the exact same thing that's happening down here. And there's like these people that have been, like organized with all kinds of other things. Like some of the speakers have been like well-known TERFs, well-known like Islamophobes. There's like, people down there that were implicated with the Christchurch shooting, people that, were visited by police, people that have done jail time for their associations with that. Like even some of these groups, in their list of demands, it's like free the Christchurch shooter and stuff like that, and they're working alongside, like people that are, from like Maori protest groups, like, reactionary ones and stuff like that. But then, it's fucking wild. Like the pedigree of some of these people, like one of the leaders is this guy, Kyle Chapman, who's, been the head of the National Front, like the biggest the most long-standing white supremacist group in New Zealand for fucking decades, and it's like all these people, it's like we know who these people are, we know what they're here to do, and they're here to expand their own kind of platform, expand their following. There's a guy like this, like who runs the New Conservatives political party. Him and his daughter have been there trying to take over as the official organizers, and like doing pretty well at kind of getting people on board for their cause. But funnily enough, though, last night there was some police activity at the camp that they've been doing, and now they've all turned on him because he was talking to the police, and now they're like, oh, he sold us out. So I kind of love the idea that it's backfiring because they're all just like all over the place, But yeah, like these people are there to further their own ambitions, like, and there's new grifters popping up. There's even like a bunch of these like self-styled kind of like wellness grifters and stuff that are there doing weird shit. Like seen some people doing like these weird public like rituals that are like basically like they're pretending like it's some traditional Maori thing where it's not. Like they're just we're using words that don't make sense and doing weird like Pentecostal like laying on hands kind of shit. And it's like these people, like this is like they're making this into a career, like they want to, like they don't care about, like they're probably, some of them are probably even vaccinated and shit. Like they don't give a fuck. They're here to control the conversation and push their own careers and stuff. Well, it's like fucking, it's the same all over the place.
I think we could probably, we're 5 minutes over bringing Matilda in. I think we can bring Matilda in. And also, chat, by the way, we're working with a new form of videoing in which I'm using this website that is called OBS Ninja. It's free, and if anyone looking into it, it's allowing me to like send people links and then they can send their video feed in. And so we're giving it a try run so far, and so far it's working, I think, which is great. And so we're gonna see if it works.
Looks great, yeah.
See if it works for when Matilda comes in. So yeah. But maybe we should bring Matilda in right now. I don't know if she's ready, but
yeah, she's in the waiting room.
She's in the waiting room. I can pull her over.
Okay.
Pull her right on in. Let's go.
I'm gonna jump in, and I'm gonna just check in and see that she's okay, and then we'll
sounds good.
Yeah, sweet. That's fine.
Yeah.
Do all Chapmans suck? That name's ringing a bell. Well, it's interesting that it's Kyle. We have a Kyle Rittenhouse. We have a Kyle Chapman. We have a lot of shitty Kyles, and this is even more evidence to the fact. No, seriously, there's even more evidence to the fact, or that Karen is not a gender neutral or like not a sexist, misogynistic attack. Like it's. And don't get me wrong, there are shitty white women out there, obviously. But the idea that it's not sexist when we see shitty white men with the name Kyle, a lot of people tell me, and when I say there's no male version of Karen, they're like, yeah, there is. It's Kyle. I'm like, no, it is, yeah. Or it's Ken. And they'll say these things when all these people disagree. They're always disagreeing with each other, what is the male equivalent of Karen? It's nothing. It's evidenced by the fact that we have multiple publicly notoriously horrible Kyles out there that still no Kyle trend. There's no Kyle compilations on YouTube. No.
Not at all. It is
nothing.
Right. I agree. Well, we got Matilda here now, I think.
Yeah, we've got Matilda here. So, yeah, she's already set up with the video cam link thing. So.
Yay, it's working!
There we go.
Woo!
Yeah, cool.
Hey, Matilda.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
And
can you guys hear me all good?
Yeah, you're great.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you want to give us like a little bit of an intro? You can let the people know, who you are, and kind of go from there.
Sure. So my name is Matilda. I am the secretary for the Edinburgh branch of the IWW. I'm a representative and an organizing committee member. Anything that I'm saying here is my own opinion and not the union's. Like, I'm an anarcho-syndicalist. The union is officially not. So basically what I do is I run the organizing trainings that kind of teach folks how to organize in their workplace. I kind of help manage like the branch activities, and sometimes if folks have issues in their workplace, I'll represent them. So for instance, if someone has to go to a disciplinary, I'm legally allowed under UK law to come in alongside them and kind of help them through it.
That's wicked. I love that.
So you have a lot of hands-on experience, is what you're saying.
Some amount. I've been with the union for maybe 4 or 5 years or something. And I've been involved in some organizing campaigns, and I've been helping from outside on some organizing campaigns. So,
yeah, that's phenomenal. I love that so much.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, chat, like we were talking about earlier, the IWW is when we had that unionization episode, we encouraged you to take a look at the IWW. If there's no obvious union for you to join the IWW. IWW stands for Industrial Workers of the World. And I don't know, Matilda, if you wouldn't mind just confirming this, that you do not have to be a blue collar coal miner. Industrial does not mean blue collar, soot on your face. It can mean like a computer programmer. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the reason that we are called the Industrial Workers of the World is basically we're a union for all workers, rather than a trade union, which is they tend to organize everyone in a specific trade. So, for instance, you might get, this is less common now in the UK, but I think it still happens a little bit in the United States. Like, you'll have the workers for a specific job, and that's a trade union. Whereas you'll have workers in a specific workplace, kind of type of workplace, that sort of thing. What the industrial part means is that we're an industrial union, and that means that we organize workers according to industry. So, for instance, if you have workers in a workplace, such as hospitality, for instance, a hospitality workplace, all the workers in that workplace will be in the hospitality industrial union. And industrial unions are kind of like subdivisions of the IWW. And kind of what that means is you'll never have situations where you won't have situations where the boss will try and play two different unions against one another, because they're all kind of organized. You'll have the cleaners, you'll have the servers, the cooks, you'll have the guy who does maintenance on the place will all be covered under that industry.
Cool.
Wicked. That's so interesting. Yeah.
And unemployed people are also welcome to join the IWW.
Yes. Unemployed people, students as well. Basically, pretty much we try and organize everyone, especially precarious workers that other workplaces, the other big unions won't touch because they're not profitable.
Which ones are these again? I'm sorry, I missed that. The which workers?
precarious workers. So like that includes like workers in like the service industry. I know that we had a couriers network trying to organize, and like folks who like, you know, maybe are in a situation where it would be quite difficult to organize normally because like say they're on casual contracts or they're freelancers, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been quite involved with... Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, does that include like DJ Che in the chat is saying gig workers? So does that include like people that? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Interesting.
So if you're a gig worker, like you can get involved with the IWW. Basically, our kind of ideology, so to speak, is one big union. You know, for any kind of worker.
And for planning a general strike, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have one big union. You know. Very cool.
I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that later.
Very cool. So
nice.
I saw one of you in the chat asking, okay, can we ask questions now? Because my chat has a lot of, you know, they've been asking me a lot of questions about the IWW over the past few weeks, and just general questions about like unions and what that's about. And so I'm going to just say that we're going to feel out how the rhythm goes. If we find that, you know, we're kind of doing question answer and we want to do that format, then we'll do that format. But Matilda, if you wanted to like, you know, just talk, you know, that's also very cool. And so I feel like maybe we'll just feel it out. And so chat, hold on to your questions. And we'll
we normally do Q&A at the end, right?
We normally do it at the end, but like also Sophie's not here, so this is kind of like we're kind of doing like a little bit of a different stream right now because Sophie usually kind of, you know, does a lot of the steering. So so whatever you're comfortable with. Cool.
I think one of the things that we wanted to do, me and Tim were saying before the start, if it's all right with everyone else, is just start with like we've already had like a rundown of what the IWW is and its function, and like what about like the history of it? Like you know, we had a little look of it before, and it said it was founded in 1905.
Yeah, so it was founded in 1905. It was basically like a couple of basically socialist groups. I think it was a socialist party and another socialist group basically kind of got together, did it in Chicago, and they brought on a lot of the more leftist organizers from the mine workers unions. So it kind of started off as this very, this very radical kind of organization, and kind of. Whereas a lot of other unions in the intervening years kind of got a little bit less radical. The IWW has stayed pretty radical, but like has we lost quite a bit of influence, but has recently been kind of trying to build it back. And so basically like we kind of started off in the United States and then kind of has moved across to like Europe and to like to like Australia a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. And like that's I've seen that like sort of that brought up a bunch of times, like people saying that there a lot of unions that have been around for a long time tend to kind of get a little bit more kind of like moderate or whatever over time. And and we had this in the notes from some stuff that you were talking about in Discord, saying like what is it here? A lot of these movements will change the goal from, instead of seizing control of the workplace or whatever, to becoming a legal mediator to prevent the worst excesses of that workplace. That's probably not something that a lot of people would think about going into a union, right? Like, there's like a lot of people that are probably like not like communists or anarchists or whatever that would join a union just because they'd think that like, oh yeah, this will stop my boss from taking advantage of me in certain ways or whatever like that. But I mean, what do you feel about that? Do you feel that it's like the goal of the union should always be, liberation of the working class? I mean, I personally feel like, I lean towards like bigger picture stuff like that. But like, how do you feel as someone that is like involved with, unions and things like that?
Yeah. So we have like a little bit of a kind of saying in the Wobblies. So the Wobblies, by the way, is a jargon. It just means it's an affectionate term for the IWW. But basically, like, there's a dual role for like a revolutionary union, and that is defensive and offensive. So the defensive stuff, that is stuff about like protecting your rights from being eroded. You know, like that could be stuff like getting a pay rise. Right now, there is a huge amount of inflation in the UK, and like getting pay rises and that organizing around that is essentially defensive because you're kind of bringing up to parity. Like I think in the last 2 months, it's like the minimum wage as real value has gone down by like 1.2% or something. But like this also like talks about like, you know, protecting people from being fired. It's like, you know, having folks represent you in a disciplinary, but like also like other things like, you know, organizing for like better workplace treatment in general, or more control over your workplace in general. The other role of like the union is like kind of offensive, which is basically class war. You know,
The defensive is more like just like maintaining the, you know, like kind of working on within the work environment, like making sure that your rights aren't impeded on or eroded in any way. So that's kind of like just, that's more like within your relationship to your work environment and your bosses there or whatever like that. But you're saying offensive is when we go beyond that and we start thinking about like
it's kind of looking at the big picture, and that can be things like you know, like whereas the defensive role, you know, is like if you're being discriminated against, you might start a grievance meeting and get the union to represent you, or you might collectivize that grievance. If you're talking about the offensive thing, you would be specifically organizing in the workplace with the end goal of like helping support other workplaces to organize around, for instance, a political thing. So like as an example, right now in the UK, we have like this big kind of issue with like transphobia, like sneaking its way into like a lot of the middle class run kind of structures of both the state and like, you know, like the society in general. Like recently I was quite gutted about the EHRC and that sort of thing. And organizing around that, for instance, could be like a material way to like organizing in your workplace around being like, right, in our workplace, we're going to stand up for the rights of trans folks, for the liberation of trans folks. That can push forward like the general social mores, because workers in a workplace have a lot of power. Because when you're like, you know, when you're like taking money away from a company, that also affects the entire supply chain. So like, and we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. But like, basically, like the offensive role is not just like to like push for like better things in your workplace, but better things for the whole working class, to build class consciousness, friendship, and solidarity, and like, you know, to like actually make things a little bit better. To make things, like, it's a material thing you can do that, if enough people do it, will like, it takes a lot of power away from like the employing class.
So like for the defensive move would be like, okay, we are gonna like, you know, like some of our employees you know, like are trans, and that there has been some level of like discrimination or whatever. So the defensive move would be like, so we're gonna, you know, the union is gonna back them up and make sure that they're, you know, like that we can finish that up. But the offensive move is like, we're going to make this a trans inclusive workplace and work on, you know, like kind of just for the betterment of society in general, and we're going to, you know, like maybe help spread that to other workplaces by even by being an example, or by, you know, like helping them organize their other spaces as well, following, you know, like the kind of thing that we've done. Cool. So
it should be known that like the way that we would ideally try and achieve the defensive goals would still be collective organizing. It would still be like, you know, we tend to be a lot more able to represent cases when there's a chance for like a collective, like to collectivize the grievance, for instance. So like if like, you know, like folks are like if we see a grievance and we're like, right, so if you're having this problem, with your wages being stolen or whatever, chances are other people are having it as well. So let's talk to everyone, and we're a lot more powerful together.
So
so it's not your problem, but it's our problem now.
Yeah.
And this is why it's such a, unions are sadly still remain such a radical thing, especially in America, because of this insistence upon this individual lone wolf, you bootstrap yourself and whatever. Yep. But you're saying we necessarily, if I could be so bold to say what you're saying, we necessarily need to reorient our perspective toward not one that is me and what I do for me and how I stick up for me and maybe people that I like, but we need to start to see across all sorts of these boundaries, but make sure that we see other workers, see the plight of other workers, and use our collective power together to fight together. Also knowing that our plight is our plight. There is, if you said, if someone's having their wages stolen, chances are you're not the only worker, because because you as a worker are a member of an oppressed class. That oppression is not going to be like, oh, I'm the only person who's oppressed in this oppressed class defined by certain, being a worker in a capitalist system.
Sorry to speak.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that this is also a big thing that in some ways. Unions both in the United States and in the United Kingdom kind of often struggle with, because very often larger unions are almost become, and this was especially true after the advent of Thatcherism, when unions kind of had to rebrand as basically job insurance, where you'd sign up for a union and they'll represent you. They have lots of very well trained, very well paid representatives who will represent you in the workplace and who will take up your case if you say have to go have a good case for the law, but who aren't really that interested in actively changing the nature of capitalism, because at the end of the day they've kind of become these neoliberal institutions which almost exist in sort of the same way as a charity to
almost top down.
No, 100%. I understand exactly what you're saying. It's I mean, I'm not sure what the official stance of the IWW is. I know that you're not, the words what you're saying is, you're speaking for yourself. So but I think that unions, personally, are a step in the direction toward not needing unions. But it's what it sounds like what you're describing is the idea of unions necessarily always being an accessory to your oppressed
an accessory to capitalism,
similar to a social safety net, right? We can give if we redistribute funds, we give people food stamps. That could be a step toward the dissolving the state and so on and so forth. Or it can be justification, like you said, like a charity, the justification and the crutch that keeps this broken system hobbling further and further. I think I'm like Tim in that I am also a big picture, in that I always look at to see what's the end goal, and sometimes it gets me a little bit idealist, but that's the position I'm coming from. I'm coming from one that's
get rid of it all. It's a reasonable position,
what we were talking about earlier. Oh, sorry. About that, what we're talking about, the unions becoming the legal mediator to the worst excesses of the workplace thing is a huge thing, and that's it's that kind of stuff can be what helps capitalism kind of just scrape on. I saw Middle Earth Marxist said in the chat a little while back about how down here in New Zealand we have unions that are working with privatized insurance companies to kind of push that and stuff, and there's a lot of these kind of more
I get that,
more liberal unions.
Oh, sorry. I totally get that.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I dual card, which is dual carding is when you join two unions. I'm a member of the IWW, obviously, but I'm also a member of Unite, which is, and that's mostly because they have very good reps. If I get in trouble, I know that they've got very good reps and they have a very good response time. They also keep phoning me asking if I want health insurance.
Yeah.
Love that.
Like,
That.
So that's why, like, you know, it's like,
so they're
trying
to be, they're like an advertiser, is what you're saying, for this private entity.
A lot of them do become like businesses, like, it's,
and like it's this difficult situation where, like, when they do organize, because of this, they tend to become almost like a little bit like like what you were saying earlier with this flu convoy, whatever. I kind of remember that you had a really catchy name for it. It was flu something convoy, but like flu trucks convoy. But yeah, what you guys were saying earlier, like with the mobilizing. Very often, like, you'll have the situation where when they do organize, essentially they go for union recognition by the law, and this is a big problem, especially in American unions, and I've seen this quite a lot when I'm watching like the news across the pond. You'll see like these things where the first step and the be all end all will be like to get legally recognized by the National Labour Board. And like, while that's cool, it kind of limits you because you have all this like legal stuff, these loopholes that you've got, all this legal stuff you've got to jump through. It's slow, and it relies on like having this like trained legal and paid like organizing like organizing class almost in the union. And it can substantially weaken it, because it means that rather than building,
by the way,
it costs a lot of money. But it like means that rather than actually going on the ground and building these relationships with your other workers and building solidarity and class consciousness, you are reliant on someone coming in, handing out a bunch of flyers and getting you to sign a card to vote.
And it completely, it is an interesting, like, almost like the way that capitalism co-ops everything. This feels like an example of that, where capitalism has taken Thatcher, the meaningful part out of organizing, which is building solidarity with your fellow worker, and then standing shoulder to shoulder with them, being like, we ruling class, you can't exist without us, so now we are making demands together, and we have each other's back, so you can't break that. It takes that and it extracts that part, throws it away, and just replaces it with like a stamp and a certification and so on and so forth.
Good, Tim.
What was that?
Tim was saying we got audio issues.
Me?
Did something happen there? Or maybe it was just me. Maybe my...
I'm all good. I didn't hear anything weird.
It just kind of like, it felt like it dropped out for a second. I wasn't sure if it was like funny or me.
Okay.
It was me. I'm just going to assume that everything you just said, I agree with it and back it up.
You know, this is a circle.
Solidarity.
I was talking about how much I think capris should come back. So, like, I guess you're in.
So, like, so you touched on this earlier, like, Matilda. It's like, that's what Thatcher did to the unions in the 70s, right?
Yes. Because before then, a lot of the unions were Trotskyites. In the UK at least, or at least fairly radical. However, after the advent of Thatcher, like, there was this like almost the same process that happened to Labour under Tony Blair.
Right.
Like, and it's one of the reasons why like it becomes this...
Now they're cutting out. Wait. Hang on. You're cutting out for us. Okay, maybe it is something weird. Give me a second. I'm gonna drag you out. Drag you back in. Okay, are you there? Matilda? How come I can't hear Matilda? Am I the only one? Hosts? I can't hear anyone. What the hell? What on earth? Okay, maybe give me a second, chat. Or host, hang on. Oh my lord, chat. I don't want to miss the speech. Okay, I'm back. Can y'all hear me? Wait. It's connecting? Oh no. What's going on? No route connecting? Oh no, what does that mean? Why? What is happening? Why can't I? All right. Chat, we have technical difficulty. Oh, we're back. Okay,
Okay,
now we're
I'm back. I think I'm back. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
I've been having weird connection issues, and I don't know if it's a Discord thing, because Tim, you just had it, and we are not even remotely in the same. We're not even remotely in the same area. Yeah, so.
I think it's Discord. Everything else was fine, but I noticed.
I'm so sorry, and I don't want to miss your speech, Matilda. Because because I know one of my the speech, because like
made me sound like an orator.
Why not?
No pressure, but like your speech, please continue. But yeah, I apologize for that.
So yeah, we were talking about
I'm
how
so sorry.
We were talking about how Thatcher detoothed the unions, and that was similar to what they did under Tony Blair with Labour.
Yes, it becomes like you almost get the centralization of skills in this like paid class of organizers who come from the outside and are a third party to the workers, and this is an important part of the IWW. We organize in, as well as industrial unionism, we do what's called solidarity unionism. And solidarity unionism is a model of labor organizing, where the actual like power behind the organizing, the actual like deal with how it works is not dictated by the union at large or by like some person thinking about strategy outside the workplace, but by the workers in the workplace themselves. Basically, the union can never, except I think one or two in the US. The union can never actually tell anyone not to strike. And the bosses can't tell any. We never strike in the UK at least. We never sign no strike clauses, which is a clause that is decided in a contract that says the union will not strike under the X circumstances.
Phenomenal.
And solidarity unionism is basically we don't care. We don't care about mediation from the government or paid union representatives. We don't have any paid union representatives, and this is a key pillar of anarcho-syndicalism, but the union itself isn't anarcho-syndicalist. They're just very similar to anarcho-syndicalists,
right?
So basically like
I really like this, by the way.
What
this
that
is
means
great.
is
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. I just have to tell you right now, I really appreciate it. This is really great for me. Anyways, please go.
We have a bit of a saying in the union, and this caught on funnily enough because me and some friends were like running like a partial, mostly for a joke, honestly, some union training for fans of like Blaseball, which is like an online baseball game.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So, but one of the folks who volunteered to help us run the training came up with the term bus proof, which is the idea that like if one organizer, anyone, gets hit by a bus, pardon the kind of slightly dire metaphor,
a bit morbid,
yeah. Then the whole organizing campaign shouldn't just disappear. What we want to do under like solidarity unionism and like the way we organize is we want every organizer to be as good an organizer as everyone else or better.
So yeah, it's like
we've talked about this before. Yeah.
So it's like I think I've mentioned this before. It's a horizontal organization rather than like Unite, for example, is a top-down organization. So we touched on this in our conversation about charity, and it's similar to that. Like what makes charity different to mutual aid, it's the horizontal,
like building dual power and stuff.
It's actually
yes,
and I think actually Sophie did bring up the term bus proof as well. I think
I tell her when we were doing our organizing interview.
Actually, that's it. No, she said that from that interview. Yeah, nice. Well, it's an amazing concept.
What this reminds me of, just real quick, what this reminds me of is during Bernie Sanders' run for president, there are unions that were like, this union does not endorse Bernie Sanders, and all the members were like, yes, we do. But like the heads of it were like, no, we don't. And how that was like, I remember noticing that. And so what you're saying is that what y'all do at IWW would not lead to a result like that, because that's kind of like.
So how it would work in us is the IWW straight up wouldn't comment. but the members in the IWW would, because we try and keep away from party politics. Just because party politics will never save us.
That's so based.
Oh dear.
Like, at the end of the day, what gets the goods is organized power and actually causing disruption. And what I mean by that is causing disruption is, I've got this book here, no shortcuts. I show this off at every opportunity. It's Jane McAlevey. It's really good. But one of the things that I don't think she coined this. I think she's quoting it from someone else, but I don't remember who she was quoting it from. Was the idea of a cost of concession versus a cost of disruption. And this is kind of baked into the way that we organize. Like the boss or the government or whoever's in power, they will not do anything unless the cost of doing that thing is less than the cost of not doing that thing. And that can be monetary. That can be in terms of their manpower. In the case of like pulling out of a war, that could be in terms of their emotions. Which I've had situations in the past where I was representing someone where the boss was so embarrassed that he just gave in.
Brilliant.
Like
that guy. I love that he gave in.
I'll tell you about that later, maybe. But, yeah. So like
cost of concession versus the cost of, what was the second one?
Disruption.
So
let's imagine that. Let's imagine that there is a draconian police bill, a hypothetical draconian police bill being pushed in Parliament. And people are organizing marches against it. The cost of concession to that draconian police bill not passing is fairly large, because it means that the government can't do some fascist shit. But the cost of disruption from a march, that isn't that big. It just blocks up a road for a day.
Especially if it's a peaceful lib one where you all stand and you make sure you
march,
respect all the laws while you silently hold your very respectful sign. Yes.
Yeah. In Edinburgh, we call them cucumber sandwich marches, because you eat a cucumber sandwich.
Funny. That's great. I'm gonna steal that. I'm appropriating it.
That's good. I love that.
But whereas if you compare that to, say, if you were actually causing disruption, you were blocking off roads, or you were like doing direct action, the cost of that might be substantially larger.
Well, you might appreciate this, Matilda, because you probably know the film Ne Passaran. It's like a documentary.
Oh,
Yeah. So like in Ne Passaran, basically the long and short of it is like some factory workers in East Kilbride in Glasgow in the 70s refused to ship Hawker Hunter jet engines to the Pinochet regime in Chile. I've spoke about this, I think, last week or the week before on the show, because I can't recommend this documentary enough, because it's a great show of how union direct action and solidarity, just in general, without demanding, and Bunny brings this up rightly every time when we talk about direct action and union action, is that you do it just because it's the right thing to do, not because you expect any reward or a medal for it. These lads actually did get medals for it because they saved lives in what they did. But it's, you know what I mean, they just did it because they thought that's what they should do, and they did it, and it was part of a big union-wide action thing, wasn't it? And so like little actions like that disrupt the sort of like supply chain, it can actually like not just emancipate workers, it can also fight fascism in other countries. So it's such a phenomenal thing to think about when we're talking about like what actually works, like direct action or sitting in the sun with.
And this is like something important, because when we think I think one of the important things about a materialist approach to union organizing is we have to understand that we don't, like, a workplace doesn't exist in a bubble, right?
Absolutely.
For instance, Unite actually has a union for Trident operators. Trident, for those who aren't in the UK, is the absolutely disgusting nuclear submarine base located in Scotland. which everyone hates.
Yeah.
But like, and like, part of the thing is you have to be aware that like, your workplace isn't a bubble. So if you're fighting for something in your workplace, that also kind of affects everything related to that. One thing I'm quite fond of is the idea of like, a boss will not just be active in that workplace. Like, your boss might be shit. Imagine, say for example, you worked for a hypothetical pub chain, whose boss was also a huge Brexit supporter, and weirdly enough, kind of an Australian nationalist. But like, imagine you worked for a pub like that.
Yeah.
If you were just focusing on the workplace, you could organize around, not get enough breaks, but if you were also like working with your community, you could also say, all right, this boss is not only a huge Brexit man, but he's also a landlord. He's also like messing with the local brewing industry because he'll only buy Australian wines. You can that's various angles that you can actually like push. And if you organize in your one shop, then that's going to have even a slight, but that's going to have an effect on all those other like spheres, almost all those other spheres. And that's why like organizing in your workplace, has a huge effect on the world. And when you actually leverage it, you can cause a lot of widespread changes, especially if you're working with the rest of your community.
I love that you're saying this, because it's making me realize that when I used to work like a regular job, like this is my job now, it's very freakish, but when I used to work a regular job, it really did feel like, and I think this is by design, that work is like a bubble where you go and you feel miserable and you get through it, and then you go home, and then you have your life outside of work, little scrap of life where you just like, you watch Netflix and you try to just forget, and then just wake up and do this thing over and over again. And the idea that I don't think I'm the only one that feels this way. Chat, let me know if you feel the same. You feel like when you go to work, you are not connecting with other workers, that in fact you're not part of one big thing. You are in fact you are working in this little bubble, and that you have no connection outside of that. I also feel this way, like
a little alienated.
Yeah, alienated, exactly. I also feel this way, like if you call like a call center for some reason and you get a worker, they will always be like, thank you for calling Comcast, my name is whatever, how can I help you? And if you try to like have a conversation with them, oftentimes they will stick to a script, because I feel like two workers can't even have a conversation without having to create these borders that refuse to allow us to connect on the basis of our employment.
Well, you make a great point, and this is sort of connected to why they are desperate for people to not work from home anymore, because in working from home, people have a lot more sort of freedom to do what they want while they work, and that might involve getting on Discord calls with communists who want them to organize their workplace, and shit like that. And even though it wouldn't make sense from a capitalist perspective, if you want to reduce your overheads for your business, just don't pay the rent on the office and let your workers work from home. It makes sense from a money-making perspective, but it doesn't make sense from a stealing your laborers' wages perspective.
It's about power.
Right.
It's as much about power and control as it is about profit.
Just controlling as much of your life as possible, basically.
And I think that this is an important thing, like, because one of the first things that we say, in a lot of the trainings, especially when we're talking about how to talk to your co-workers, and rather than co-workers, I'm going to say fellow workers here, which is a little bit of a buzzword, but like, because you might be a student or you might be unemployed, and the folks that you're around, they're still your fellow workers. If I'm personally out of a job right now, I've been looking for one for ages, but I haven't been able to find one because of fucking transphobia. If I'm at the job center, waiting to be chased by the mall cop to like fucking explain how I've been desperately looking for a job recently, I'll have a good conversation with that person that I'm sitting next to, because they're my fellow worker, you know. We are both employed by the job center to fucking pretend to look for a job.
This is why unemployed people are part of the IWW. It's because it's not, are you currently working a job? It's that if you're not working a job, you are still subjected to the working class status. You cannot just, you're not just like ruling, you're not Bezos because you got fired. Like you are still in the same position.
We're all working class.
We're all working class.
The fucking IWW preamble has a really metal line right at the start, which is the working class and the employing class have nothing in common. And I always that is for me, you know, the people who make money by owning things are not like the people who make money by doing things.
We have to sell our labor, and that's what we do. If you have to sell your labor, you are working class. I think it's a decent general way of looking at it. And I'm glad that you said what you just said, because I want to go back to something that we were talking about right before you came on. I don't know if you've been catching up with the absurdity happening in Canada with the okay, so you're familiar with that.
One of my friends has been keeping me up to date with it. The person in question works with Titmouse. They work with the Communication Workers Union. The IATSE. It's the IATSE, not the CWA.
Yeah.
But they've been keeping me up to date with it. I'll tell you, it's interesting because it is not like a working class movement. It is
what? But they say it's a working class movement.
Why would they lie?
Who like own things? They make their money by owning things.
Yes.
But one thing that like does make me a bit nervous, and I don't know what you guys think about this because you probably know a lot more about it than me. This is just secondhand. It does seem like they're causing a decent amount of disruption. And it does seem like it's possible they might get something out of it, because one of the issues is what are they trying to do? They're trying to get the government to do nothing. The government loves doing nothing. That doesn't cost anything. So the concession cost is very low, but the disruption cost, even if it is just blocking off one bridge, is moderate.
Well, this is the thing. It's like we were talking about. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Real quick, before we get into that topic, I just want to make sure everyone is aware that Matilda from the IWW is saying that no, this is not a working class uprising for workers' rights. This is, it is, and I echo this extremely loud. I just want everyone to hear that it is not. Okay, I don't want to
just to kind of like say this. It's working class in the same way as fascism can be working class.
Yep.
Those like the working class people who are brought into it because they are suffering from the same issues as working class people, but they are blaming it on the wokes, or they're blaming it on immigrants. You know, they're
exactly.
Like Middle Earth Marxists just said, like in the chat, if only they knew they were really angry at capitalism. And that's the thing, right? It's like all these things, like all these anxieties, these frustrations they have are caused by capitalism. They just don't have the framework to really analyze that, or the, you know, like that no one's really taught them like, hey, this is what we can do or whatever.
They've not got
which is like
expose the information.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, like, I'm not saying like, oh, you know, like, poor them, you know, like we should treat them with kid gloves because they just don't know or whatever like that. Like, still, you know, like they're all fucking dickheads. But like, you know, like that's how we can see how like these things kind of happen, you know, like it's like there are people there that, even though there's people there that are completely unreasonable, there are people there that probably started from a point of having legitimate like anxieties or whatever, or, you know, things around.
Well, this is why you do see some crossover with like moderates and moderate leftists as well, because they do have this like, you know, idea that something is not quite right, but it's just not, they've just not got it, like you say.
It's very frustrating.
I would say TERFs often, or transphobes I'll call them, because I don't like the term TERF because it implies that they are actually feminists, but they prey on some of the same thing a little bit as well, because they often prey on women's fear of like misogyny,
or real trauma from misogyny,
a real fucking trauma, like, you know. My mother, she works in film, and I tell you, the film industry is sexist as fuck. But she's an extra. She was in Outlander. If you see Outlander, you might see her. She's in the background.
Oh, lovely.
But yeah, like whatchamacallit. No, but it's like a real issue for like women. Like they're treated like shit. And then what these middle class TERFs they do, transphobes they do, is they will try and use that as a way to pull apart other working class people from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And
did you like so? Oh, sorry. Go on, buddy.
I was gonna say I don't know, Matilda, if you caught Sophie's speech in front of the BBC, but
I
Sophie,
did, yes.
It was so good, and Sophie kind of echoed basically what you're saying, which is the opportunistic nature of this bigotry to divide the working class against itself, and then to like throw marginalized people have to get trampled upon as a result. And that's kind of like the formula of fascism, and how that is. I like to say like bigotry is an op of sorts because of this, because it's immense to like divide us, and it doesn't allow us to turn all of our attention toward the actual culprit.
Well, you said, didn't you, Matilda, that you wanted to talk about, organizing against transphobia in the workplace, didn't you?
So I think like one thing that I'd like to talk about a little bit is like, so if we were to understand that TERFism is, or like fucking transphobia is like this top-down movement. My personal friend Harry Josephine Giles, she wrote this really good piece, Trans in the UK, What Are We Going to Do, a couple of years ago, and this basically talks about how transphobes infiltrated the Scottish National Party, and how that was a precursor to what they're currently doing down in England and in the United States of America, because it is happening in the United States of America. And essentially, they are a middle-class movement who, what they do is they get themselves into positions of power, and they get their friends into positions of power, and they make friends with all the people in those, often in NGOs or political organizations, or like things with like a lot of like media reach. And then when people call them out on being bigots, they close ranks. And they act like they're being silenced, and play the victim. But it's worth noting that this is how politicians organize, but not how actual working people organize.
Right.
They're not, like, TERFs aren't going into their workplace and trying to organize their workplaces. As much as they might say, oh, this person got kicked out of their workplace for getting, like, it's publicity campaigns. They're not talking to their neighbors about, like, there was a trans, a rally around the GRA, which is the gender recognition certificate, kind of, is getting reformed. In Scotland. They cancelled it down in England and Wales, but it's still going in Scotland. So if you think it's not, then it actually is. It's just the BBC has been lying and saying it's not.
Funny that, isn't it? The BBC lying about trans issues.
But,
what?
But so there was a protest by a bunch of TERFs that had been bussed up for London about that outside the Scottish Parliament recently. And what I did was, at the start of the pandemic, I had set up a wee WhatsApp group with me and all the neighbours in our flat. So I put, I phoned them up and I says to them, listen, I've got this thing. There's this protest. There's all these people who are like wanting to make me and my flatmate, who's also trans, feel unwelcome. Would someone be down to come along with us? And I got so much support. One of them, this single mother, lives upstairs, a bit of a Russiagate conspiracy woman, but she's lovely. She comes down to the rally with me, and I swear to God, it was the loveliest thing that I've ever, like, it made me feel so welcome. TERFs aren't doing that. They're not going, like, the most they're doing is putting stickers up. Most they're doing is running around, putting stickers up on lampposts.
And this is why we try and have such an emphasis here on Red Planet about doing things like this, like having conversations with your neighbors,
meeting your neighbors.
Because most of the time, regular people are all right. Like we're not as divided as the media likes to make out. Most of the divisions, as Matilda rightly says, comes from people who are not working class people, you know, and they take advantage of, I guess, easily persuaded working class people.
Yeah. And they love pushing those narratives like you can't trust your neighbor, you know, like like don't let your kids outside. Your neighbors are, you know, like they could be any kind of creep or whatever like that. And it's like I think so much of that is just like, you know, like I don't know if it's like an unintentional side effect or if it's like a, you know, a deliberate thing in some cases, but it's one of those things where it's like don't trust your neighbors. Just, you know, listen to like we know what's better for you than you guys know, you know, like and that's something that's always kind of bothered me about you know, like a lot of that kind of stuff.
It's class war. It's class war.
Yeah.
Totally. But like, I think what's interesting about this stuff is like we there's this feeling like, oh, what can we do? Or that's just how things are. And those are what I call thought terminating statements. The point of those is I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's making me feel sad and powerless. And one of the big ways that we can organize is to push past those a little bit. And if I'm thinking maybe in a wee bit we can talk a little bit about how exactly to talk to other workers and how to do meetings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that.
But for just kind of going back to this trans thing, the fight for trans liberation is also the fight for workers' liberation because most trans people are workers.
Funny that.
We're not trying to organize with like what's her face? Is it Caitlyn Jenner, the rich bigoted one? But we are trying to organize with like Fran who lives down the street, you know.
For sure.
And if we're in our workplaces. And this is a big thing that if you're a cis ally or if you're a straight ally or whatever, and you want to make things better for your trans and your gay friends, here's what you can do is you can try and start organizing your workplace and you can listen to what their problems are. Because I swear to God, if you actually listen to them and if you actually try and help make things better, then not only does that help them, but it also, if enough people start doing it, that's how a movement starts, you know? And like, I know for a fact in every single one of my jobs, I've suffered from transphobic abuse. Every single one. And I swear to God, half of the fucking trannies, you know, are going to be like fucking exactly in the same position. They've been dealt with like all kinds of shit at work. Because work is like, when you're at work, you know, that's the majority of your life. You're like, if you're working full time,
your best hours,
or even if you're working part time, most of the fucking time that you're alive is going to be spent at work.
Commute, commute home, exhaustion.
So those folks at work, they should have your back, and you should have their back because you're basically like, imagine if you spent all your time with like 2 or 3 people. In a friend group, right? Those are your best friends. You should fucking make the folks at your work your best friends and all.
Well, this is it. It's so good you say that. Like, I was speaking to a friend today who has recently started a new job and she absolutely hates it. And I'm sat there with her and I'm like, yo, like join a fucking union. And she's like, which one? And I'm like, well, start with the Industrial Workers of the World, to be honest. And I'm biased because I'm part of it and I know a fair bit about it, right? But then when it comes to, so she's like, oh, but what do I do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I might get sacked if I join a union and stuff like that. And it's like, that's why So I wanted to speak to you about that, Matilda, and you can tell people what to do.
So that's one of the biggest things. So in terms of like, and I think we can do a wee activity for the chat after this.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest reasons. So the biggest reason, obviously, that folks didn't join a union is that they're never asked. But the second biggest thing is they're worried that they're getting fired for it. And if you ask me, being worried that you're going to get fired for joining a union is a good reason to join a union.
I said that to her actually.
And there are like, I mean, we've had in New Zealand, the government pass legislation to prevent certain industries from unionizing and, you know, taking part in collective action. So there is like, you know, there is a legitimate fear that like, you know, like, oh man, like this could end my career like right now.
I've got a wee thing that's like really, sorry to interrupt you, but I've got a wee thing that I think is really important on that point, which is, and this is especially true for our pals, solidarity to you in the right to work states, where you can, that right to work, for what it's worth, is a legislation in America which basically lets bosses fire you for being in a union, for any reason really. But and this is also an important thing for like when you're like organizing around the National Labour Board, because one of the big protections that they provide is the boss can't fire you if you're in a recognised union for being in that union. Your boss will do it anyway.
They fired you because you're not working on the team, or something. Reason.
Bosses do illegal things all the time.
Yeah, they'll find a way, right?
Because what's the worst that's going to happen is they'll pay a fine. A fine is just how much it costs to break the law.
Absolutely.
So, like, when you're that rich, it's very often to bosses, unions are a matter of pride. They are ideologically getting in the way of the goals of the workplace. So they'll just fire you. So that's why we don't rely on the protection of the law, because at the end of the day, the law kind of serves the bosses because they can just break it. Whereas if we break it, then we get in a lot of trouble.
The state facilitates class-based oppression. It's not here to bash the worker.
Exactly. That's the function, right?
That's a really eloquent way of putting it.
I got it from Sophie.
Yeah, that is actually. That is like probably the most succinct way to.
So how can we like kind of organize in such a way as to not just get fired for being a union? Well, a lot of bigger unions, business unions as I call them, because they run the union like a business, will, they'll hand out lots of flyers, and they'll like invite everyone to a big meeting with a paid organizer who will explain to them union. We, the IWW, we tend to avoid that for a lot of reasons. I totally forgot about the wee activity, but it doesn't matter. For a lot of reasons, like, if everyone's being invited along, you will also immediately alert the boss. Who will immediately start his anti-union campaign, and probably fire whoever is on the stage speaking. That's why you see so many union organizing efforts in the United States are actually led by fired people, because the leaders are the first to go. It also means you miss people's ideas and perspectives, especially if they are, for instance, like marginalized. Like, if someone at my workplace is like, right, everyone, and he says it in plain, like, earshot of the boss, we're going to meet up tomorrow, and we're going to organize. Maybe some of the folks will come. I'm trans. It's a nightmare for me to get a job. So, like, what we tend to do, and this is how we tend to avoid just being fired for being in union, is we tend to talk to people one-on-one until we're sure that we're sound.
Group chat that the boss can see or anything like that, Like...
There might be a group chat, but not on fucking work property, for one thing. But there might be a group chat, but like that's folks that we're sure are sound. But we'll reach out to everyone individually, and we'll have a chat with them, and we'll we'll talk to them about like how to like we'll talk to them about what the problems are in the workplace, how they're doing, that sort of thing, and then we'll ask them like open questions like, oh, how are you doing? If someone says, oh, things are quite bad right now, we'll ask, oh, why? And if they talk about a problem, we'll ask, like, how does that make you feel? And that, like, we call that agitation. That's when you talk about a problem and you actually make people angry about it. Agitation
because a lot of people will just, like, if they have some problems going on with their boss or whatever like that, they'll just be like, well, that's just what working is like. You know,
yeah.
It's work. It's not supposed to be fun or whatever like that.
It's my least
and they'll just
favorite.
like people will put up with a lot of shit.
Yeah,
it's my least favorite statement when people say it is what it is.
That is fucking thought terminating statement, right?
Yeah,
There we go.
By the way,
it.
Speaking of thought terminating statements, I wanted to touch back on that. You said you gave two examples. You said, what can we do is a thought terminating statement. And what was the second one that you provided? If you recall.
That's just how things are.
That's just how things are. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were on about agitation.
Yeah. So we kind of that's agitation. But if you just do that, people are just going to get angry and sad. So what we do is we go backwards and forwards between that and education, and that is when you'd be like, right, okay, so you're angry about this thing. What can we do about it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that can be things like literally educating, like here's something that the workers at the Brighton Weatherspoons did when they unionized down south, or this can be things like if we got everyone together, what would you change about your workplace? How could we change it? And that gets folks thinking. And when folks are thinking, then you get some fucking good ideas, especially from like marginalized folks who might not, if you had run a big meeting, have spoken up at all.
Right, exactly.
And they might have problems that you didn't even know existed. So that's why, and the benefits of like meeting someone one-on-one for security are fucking massive, because if you meet up with someone outside of work and you find out like, oh, this person is the boss's niece, then you could just turn it into a nice social day where you're just having a nice but if you invite someone to a big union meeting and someone's the niece, they might not even tell you that they're the boss's niece, and they might just go home and tell the boss.
Well, it's funny, isn't it?
Homework
because
for this week is to take your boss's niece out on a date.
Infiltrate the family, unionize the family.
That's right.
And if you can't do it, let me know and I'll take her.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Matilda, because that's kind of like traditionally like where working men's clubs come from, right? Because then they, people would meet up after work, go for a drink, and be like, yeah, it was fucking shit today, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? And then just be like, talk about how they can organize against their fucking workplace. And like conservatives, like, I hate it so much. Like, I used to think that my gran ran like a working man's club. Well, obviously the working man's thing is problematic because obviously there's loads of different people who go there. But that's what it's just generally called. Yeah. But it turned out she ran a conservative club. And so that's like a thing that sort of like came to be the new working man's club. I think. I don't know if you know much about that, but I feel like that's like a...
I think that's important to think, because with the kind of crushing of like the unions in the UK, there has to be an outlet for that, frustration with the daily life. And that without an actual understanding of like the idea of class and like how we can do that turns into reactionary thought.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that's kind of, I think that's what we're maybe seeing there.
Absolutely. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent there, but you're absolutely right. It's like that is where the best places to talk about people with this stuff.
Yeah. So I've got a wee idea for, and I don't know what you guys think, for like a wee activity we could do for the chat. Cool. And I don't know what you guys think about this. Feel free to shoot me down. But like, I was thinking we could maybe like ask for reasons someone might not want to join a union, and maybe either address them or maybe ask other chat members to address them as well.
I'm fucking down. Let's go. Chat chaos.
Great.
Right.
This is great.
Okay.
But before
chat loves activities.
Okay, I want to make sure that at some point we talk about, even if it takes like a sentence, to touch on why managers and business owners, etc., should not be part of any of these organizations.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, especially with regards to like the Ottawa uprising, where people, it seems like there's a lot of people, and I don't think they're all very good faith. I think some people are just opportunistic assholes, but like there are people that I think are genuinely believe that you can stand alongside a manager or a business owner, and that could still be a working class movement. And I want to make sure we address why that can't be, why that is not a thing.
So in terms of the ownership class, by which I mean your boss's boss, the CEO, their class interests are fundamentally different to yours.
Yeah.
Because if, for me, as a working person, I want to be able to not have to pay rent. I want to be able to not have to work to live.
They're different. They're like, they're at odds with each other. Their class interests are at odds with ours. Like,
like the rich, they don't want that. They want to stay in control and to exert more control over my life.
Yeah.
So we can never agree on that.
Correct.
We have to reach a conclusion, and this is I'm sneaking in some dialectics here, but we have to reach a synthesis. And like, my ideal one is the abolition of the employing class. But in terms of like your direct boss, your manager, they're in a prickly position because sometimes they might be members of the employing class. Other times they might be folks who are fucking finks for the employing class, who like have just like kind of like basically seen. I think I stole this from the Pedagogy of the Oppressed. But they have seen what success means in the capitalist lens as having control over other people, and they're trying to strive for that. But their interests, part of their job role is to stop unionizing, stop people from unionizing.
That's right.
So even if they come from a working class background, they're at odds with you. And if they want to, if you're a boss and you think you're a good boss, if you're in the chat and you're a boss, you can hire or fire people. The only ethical thing for you to do is to give up that ability to hire and fire people and just become a worker. Because, like, ultimately, like a middle manager or whatever, you're at odds with unions, and you shouldn't join them unless you give up your ability to hire or fire people. Unless you give up your that sort of thing, Because I've had situations where managers will reach out and say, hey, I'm sympathetic to the idea of a union in my workplace, but I'm a manager. What do? I'm just like, give up your hiring and firing power.
That's phenomenal. I love that. I actually love that. And then, because that's a great litmus test, right? Yeah. That's like, if you're willing to sacrifice your power to help the cause, then fucking brilliant. Yeah. But if you're just still going to be a fucking mini Hitler, then sorry, don't give a shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone in the chat just said, what if you are in a union and then you get promoted? And then somebody, as Hey Zelda says, you cannot both accept the promotion and remain in the union. Often promotions are a tactic for dividing.
Yes, bosses will often try and buy out people they think are the union leaders. They'll give them a raise.
I did not know that.
I've seen that happen before,
Have you ever seen Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah, in the film Sorry to Bother You. Yeah, he literally does that to the main character, innit? It's like, we're going to give you a raise.
He's a union leader because he asked for a raise.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. I did not know that. Interesting. Chat, who didn't know that? I didn't know that. I'm pressing 1. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So like, but yeah, bosses will often try and buy you out if they think you're a leader, and that's why we have to make sure that there's no leaders, or that there's no one easily identifiable as a leader. Because naturally, you do tend to get a little bit of social leaders. Like, you get folks who have influence in a workplace, but that's just because they know what they're doing. And they're not necessarily leaders because they're not the one who says what's going on in the union. You want them to be people who are dedicated to supporting folks.
Awesome.
Got
Thank you. That was a great
Rinky
answer.
Dink pointing out in the chat saying, probably need an exemption here for worker tenant owners, i.e. folks in co-ops. Collectively, we can hire, fire, evict house people. Yeah, but it's like, I feel like
I think
they have a completely different relationship to
like
the bosses and everything as well. But yeah, like, good to point it out. But
I think the thing with Rinky Dink is, like, that's the ideal, right? That's what we're striving for. We want workplaces to have to democratically decide if they're going to fire people. In the IWW, we sum it up quite succinctly in, if a worker has sole hiring and firing power, that is to say, if they can hire or fire someone without having to, like, go through some, like, without having to ask their superior, then they're probably a boss. But even then, like, some line managers don't have that power, but you still don't want to organize with them. It's quite a bit case to case,
Very good. Okay, so let's go back to. I think
go
that.
Go on. You've seen something you want to say.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
I want to get back to your activity whenever you're ready. So take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time.
I just saw Kippy's a question about discussing unions with people. We are going to. We're probably likely to talk about that.
Yeah, we should get into that before we finish up.
Yeah,
because I think that is like really that's a really key thing that people can take away from this, and then maybe we can tie that into homework or something. But,
I wonder if you can. Yeah.
Rob gave a good comment, but I'm not going to read it.
Okay. All right. Should we have we got mod privileges to just mute that little comment?
Enough of it.
No, yeah, we've had enough Rob Rousseau representation on this.
He gets so many shout outs. Can't believe it.
I know.
It's really good contributions. It's very
he always nails it.
Yeah.
To be fair. We should let's actually read it out. One interesting dynamic to modern anti-union language is the co-option of progressive social justice language. There's a surreal podcast coming from the Mountain Equipment Co-op or whatever. That leaked recently that was like, hi, I use he, him pronouns and I'm speaking from unceded indigenous lands. Here's why a union is antithetical to the Mountain Equipment.
What the fuck?
Totally. We see that a lot down here with like, like that kind of like corporate messaging co-opting Maori words and terms and like, all this kind of shit like that. And it'll be like, we believe in this ancient Maori proverb about, how the people are central to everything, and that's why we can't let you talk to your co-workers. Just shit like that.
Jesus
Recognized there is like a knowledge of social justice without a knowledge of class.
Yeah. That's like people get sucked in so hard by that. Like there's so many infographics going around that you see on Instagram, and it's like social justice, like aesthetics. Like complete, like no class analysis whatsoever, and people get sucked into
shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's almost like the it's that famous quote, right? Lenin, I think said, "Capitalism will sell us the rope we used to hang it," right? And that's kind of like it's obviously like those horrific appropriations of indigenous people and their values, and also queer and trans values as well, is eventually going to be like the undoing of stuff like this. Because people will start to realize, oh my god, like, okay, they're like sort of, they won't realize that they're using the values in order to get somewhere, but maybe they might start to go, I've never heard of someone speak like that about indigenous people before. Maybe I'm going to learn more about what happened to indigenous people. And then they'll be like, oh shit, later on they'll be like, they really appropriated that. Sorry, Matilda, you were going to say something.
Says, I understand why not to have managers in the union, but doesn't that, if you mean like exploiting the managers, yeah, they do get exploited. And the way for them not to get exploited is to give up their hiring and firing power and join a union.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If the union movement is powerful enough, then often you'll see managers actually flipping sides and just giving up their power.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, I have to grab a water.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
What do we want to move on to here? Do we want to talk about? We can talk about like like kind of maybe like reasons why people might not join, or we can talk about like kind of how to talk to other workers, that sort of thing.
Well, we're coming into the last 40 minutes of the show.
Yeah, that's what
whatever you think.
How to talk to the union.
Yes.
How to talk to the workers. I feel like that's like a really useful kind of thing that's gonna be really beneficial to a lot of people. So
I think
that's probably a good space to move into.
Yeah. So I have a little I've got a little piece of media relating to this. If you guys are down for showing something on stream and it won't get your VOD muted.
Yeah. Probably not. It depends. If it's like a music video or something, it'll get it muted. But okay, then it's probably fine.
Yeah, you can just, it's in the resources suggestions channel.
Perfect.
Nice.
So this is a clip for Sorry to Bother You, which is a good film. I quite like it.
Please watch Sorry to Bother You. It's so good. Yeah.
I still haven't seen it, but I've heard good things.
Oh, it's brilliant.
There's this clip does some stuff good, but some stuff that we'll talk about not so good.
Okay. Yeah.
But I like it because it is a really good example of how it fucking feels to talk to someone about joining a union, how to talk to them about setting up like a one-on-one meeting outside of the workplace.
Wicked. Let's see it.
You know, I'm realizing that for all of the flexing that assholes that pose as leftists like to flex how they de-radicalize Nazis and stuff, it's astounding that same crew has zero idea how to unionize a workplace, which is if you're talking about any form of like effective de-radicalization, I don't think it comes in the form of, you know, debating Nazis in front of a crowd. I think it's something like maybe starting to educate people on the nature of, like, you know, class solidarity and class consciousness and stuff. But, you know, I'm just a silly lady on the internet.
Once you have the tools, unless you want to become a Natsball, you know, like once you have like the tools to understand class, it's very easy to understand. You know, it's like the fucking red pill in the Matrix, eh?
Yeah.
By the way,
right. I mean, we may have used a couple Matrix metaphors on the stream.
Yeah, just a few. I want to go back to the prediction real fast. DJ Mule, what are you drinking? Water or beer? There's only two options.
What are you talking about? What?
Why are you drinking water or beer?
I'm drinking water. I don't drink, by the way.
Well, I'm getting to. I guess I don't know. Nice to meet you. I didn't know that.
No, I don't drink.
We've been working together for a while. I didn't know that. All right, well,
I don't
it's
drink
water. One person said, I think one person or something said beer. So
one guy in chat, one person in chat, one chatter, and everyone's like, Mule's an alcoholic. Like, can't believe this.
Mule's wasted.
Are you sure water is the right option? Yes, I am sure. Okay, now everyone got those bunnies. Congrats for everyone who. It's barely even a win. You just got them back.
I've got chat open and I didn't even see this prediction.
Yeah, I'm real creepy like that. Okay, let's watch this clip. I'm excited.
All right, cool.
Nothing in this office is free, man. You gotta put money in there.
Oh, really?
It's okay, you're not missing out. It tastes like shit.
Fucking, I thought I could get lucky, asshole.
I was just giving you shit, man. I'm squeezed. Seen you around for a couple weeks. There's a good question in there.
Cassius. People call me Cash.
It's a really good question in there, man.
What about us getting paid?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's kind of silly that we have to be all excited.
I know, right?
Bullshit.
Exactly. I mean, you just cut straight to the chase, man. That's awesome. Playa got to mob up with us for some spilling pennies.
Well, what the fuck does that mean?
There's a bunch of us that are organizing to get us paid more. Get some benefits. Could really use your energy to jump things off.
Yeah, look, I gotta get back to work, man. So.
Hey, man, look, I'm sorry I got you like this, but obviously we can't talk here. Let's go grab a drink later. It's on me.
Okay, first of all, this is super cool. Like, this is like, yo, the code words and it's awesome.
So fucking awkward.
Yeah.
I think it looks so cool. Like, if someone
it's
me,
awkward
like,
because
a bunch of us are, you know, it was really cool.
This was like
together. I'm like,
it almost feels like the guy's trying to sell him drugs or something. Like,
or he's trying to like something sexual. He's just like kind of approaching him like,
yeah.
So,
like this is like in a little public bathroom, you know.
It is always this awkward.
Really?
So one thing that Squeeze does wrong in this scene is mention, we're basically starting a union. You probably want to mention that outside of work because you know, you could get overheard. But like, this is just like how it fucking feels, right? Like, I swear to God, like, you actually have to be quite explicit when you're talking to folks that it's not like, this isn't a date, because otherwise people will think it's a date.
Wow.
But it's always a little bit like awkward, like, because it's like, people don't. Like, unless it's like a work hangout, people don't usually talk to you about meeting up outside of work to talk about work. And it's something I very much recommend doing, like a little bit of like a role play almost with like you know, one of your pals, because like, you know, doing some role playing with one of your pals, because it is so awkward, but like it's so worth it. Because once someone's outside the workplace, then you'll see it's like night and day. Because when you're at work, you're always under the panopticon, you know? But as soon as you're outside of work, you can talk shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I'm noticing though is like, first of all, this is really awkward. I guess I'm an awkward person because I didn't pick up on that vibe. I was like, that's cool. So I think I might have I might be cringe. But I'm also thinking of like think of how fascists recruit people that want to look for want to feel like they're in a group, want to feel like they have brotherhood, want to feel like they're Neo, like there's someone special, like someone comes to them and says, I want to recruit you. I feel like this has so many of the pieces.
Follow the white rabbit.
Right. This has so many of the pieces that I think would appeal to that type of crowd. And it truly is like revolutionary. It's not this fake like I don't want to be vaccinated or whatever. This is like truly revolutionary shit. So I think this is like really has a lot of the building blocks that I would like. It seems like a no-brainer that it would help to mobilize a group of people that is sadly being redirected to other fascist means.
100%, because at the end of the day, the reason a lot of folks like that do it is because they're usually young men, you know, and they feel disempowered or they feel alienated.
Yeah,
you know,
they had expectations of the world, and it's like not working out like they thought it would.
Well, this is why these hierarchies exist alongside capitalism, because these hierarchies like white supremacy and patriarchy, they funnel people into that line of like, oh, I should be radicalized against minorities, not like the workplace, innit?
Yeah. When how can you get talking to folks? So first things first, what I would say is my biggest, if there's one thing you get out of this, it's take the IWWs. We have an OT 101 or the Your Job Your Union training, which is basically a training. It can be either a long one over 7 weeks, but it's like once every 2 weeks that you basically meet, and it is intended to be going along with your organizing campaign. Or there is a short one that's over two days, usually over a weekend or something.
And OT stands for organizer training, for the record, chat.
Yes.
Right? Okay. OT 101.
So that's my biggest thing. If you want to learn how to do this, then go along to that, because you'll get really good. And if you're in the east of Scotland and you're doing it, it'll probably be me that's running it.
Nice.
Wicked. Yeah. There you go. You can talk to Matilda yourself. Imagine that.
Yeah, I'm not just really cool. On telly. But, if you're worried about doing this sort of thing, approaching someone in the workplace, you can also a good way to do it is to organize socials outside the workplace, and then ask someone at a social, hey, do you want to meet up at some point, just to just to like talk about work. And maybe outside the workplace they'll say yes, where they wouldn't in the workplace. But in terms of like what kind of stuff you can do for that, like to get started talking to people, just like you can just talk about like whatever, talk about your life, talk about like sports, talk about like whatever. I know like one thing that I suggest is like if there will often be at workplaces a group chat that's for bitching about work, and often the manager will be in it.
Yep.
But if you join that group chat, obviously don't try and recruit the union in there, but you now have everyone's phone numbers. I remember when I worked at a certain pub owned by an Australian asshole, everyone would go out to another pub after closing and like hang out and get a drink. And usually talk shit about the day. For an online workplace, you can you could just be like, hey, let's have a game of Counter-Strike, or let's watch a movie together, or organize and like if it's something that needs money, get in touch with the IWW, because often we will actually just help you cover it, because we have an organizing fund and it's for that. But if you have like gig, if you want to run a gig or like expense a meal or whatever, if you're as long as you're organizing a union, give us a shout. But once you're at these things, it's a good way to get to know the other workers, and then once you get to know them, you can talk to them one-on-one. And get them to join. And what I would say is doing that, and then if you can get even one person organizing with you, that will help so much, because it means you don't have to do everything yourself. Because
absolutely.
Again, we don't want to be hotshot organizers who do everything, and because then you'll burn out and you'll lose steam, and then no one will do it.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And I think like in terms of like kind of convincing people, it's really hard when it's just one person being like, hey, we should do this thing. But if you've got another person, or like 2 or 3 people, it's a lot easier just to be like, hey, look, we're getting together, you know? So if you start with people that already, that you already trust or whatever, and then you can kind of work out from there, then I think that's
there's an old IWW trick called framing the tough choice. And this is for if you find someone who you think's like a social leader, by which I should say, like, imagine, Mary, who works in the office, who knows everything, isn't a boss, but everyone asks her for advice and she trains all the new people. If you want to get her on side, and you already have someone, meet up with her, like two organizers, and just like listen to her problems, blah, blah, blah. And then once she says it, if she's still not on side with the union, what you can do is you can just be like, right, so what you're saying is you're happy, you're happy to work here with like them giving you these horrible hours when you're a carer, and like not care about like how you're doing in your life for the rest of your life. And then you just don't say anything. And that's an old technique, and it's mean as hell, but like if it's down to the wire, then like it can get folks who might not make a choice to make a choice.
Get them thinking about it and being like, am I really okay with that for the rest of my life? Like, am I, and like they'll go home and think about it, and they'll, as they're doing everything, is they're like, like driving like, home, stuck in traffic, whatever, being like, this is my life. Like, do I want to?
Even if you're just like, kind of talking to folks normally, for a normal or like one-on-one meeting where you're just listening, silence means a lot, because especially if you're talking to someone.
It's awkward, but it works.
If you're talking to someone and you ask them an open question like, how does that make you feel? They might say, oh, it's fine. And then what you can do is you can just not say anything. And then they'll go on. They will always go on.
I want to say
they will always say, but actually it makes me feel quite,
I want to make a point of saying, and Matilda, let me know if you agree with this, that in my experience, most people don't genuinely change their mind in front of you. Like what you say, tell them things, it plants a seed. Sometimes they'll just it. Sometimes they'll maybe even like push back on it. But planting seeds and, like you said, like leaving that silence and letting people start to like figure it out for themselves, in my experience, has been far more like realistic and like effective, sure, but also just realistic to how a human brain works. Like I can't think of any perspective, any value that I established facing someone who was trying to like make it my value, or trying to like debate me into it.
Yeah, and it's difficult because it's like, you don't want to, like, no one wants to change their mind because it's embarrassing to admit you're wrong.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good to
I
yourself.
think you're right about that. And what, like, part of the way organizing like this works is like often you don't actually have to change people's minds, because often they already think this stuff. They already think my workplace is shit, I wish it was better. And it's about actually letting them have the space they need to vocalize that, and then think, I mean, I guess we could do something about it,
Well, I think it's a really important thing to remind people that like if you are in a job that is shit, everybody is going to be thinking that. Like everybody is going to be thinking it's shit. So do not hesitate to try and initiate these conversations under the right scenarios that Matilda's been laying out, because I find this all the time. To me, it just is like common sense. If you hate your job, why are you not a communist? Why are you not in a union? You know, and more often than not, if you just kind of give people the right information. Now, don't go in there with a fucking hammer and sickle and be like, yo, we're gonna fucking do the revolution kind of thing, you know, because that's gonna freak people out. Even though you want to do that, I know you want to do that, chat. I want to do that, right? But yeah, it is just like, don't be afraid. Just start the conversation, do a bit of agitation, do a bit of education. It's that simple.
Like the idea of like organizing and specifically like communist or anarchist organizing has stayed around so long in a world that is hostile to it because it makes sense and it's useful.
And it's grounded in an authentic grievance. Like it's in a like, whether if you don't know anything about Marxism, you don't know anything about you have no class consciousness, you still feel like there's something wrong. Like even my boomer mom is like, this is not the America that I thought. Like she's very disenamored, she's very disillusioned, and it's like she's not even she's a landlord. My whole family's landlords, so don't get me started. But like she's like, I don't feel like this is right, something's wrong, someone's taking advantage of us. And that oftentimes gets co-opted by Nazis, unfortunately. Like it's the Jews. But like, you know, that's why it's important that we
that's the thing, it's always like refugees or some shit, you know, like they'll come up with something, some kind of scapegoat. It's like, I think that's the duty of like communists and anarchists and stuff, is to put out their, you know, like our kind of like, I mean, it's like we have like tools that we use to analyze, you know, like class and all this kind of stuff like that, and it's to educate people on those things, you know. And when it's just in the workplace, like if someone says like, oh hey, did you see this thing about, you know, like these like refugees or something like that, to actually put forward, you know, like a sound kind of like, you know, our alternative, to be like, okay, this is what the actual, you know, like this is what's going on behind there or whatever. And I find that just like those kind of casual conversations can be radicalizing for people, you know, like and like just kind of just being that voice of, you know, in the workplace that is like throwing these things out there, you know, like sometimes it'll end up with people coming to you and being like, hey, so, you know, I've been thinking about this or whatever. And like if people know that you're that person.
Obviously, you know, you don't want to make yourself a target as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I think like one thing that's quite interesting to me is that I think a lot of the time when you're talking about, and especially when you're listening to folks and asking them the right questions, you know, folks will just independently come up with the idea of a union.
Like, what if we just got together and like, it's like, well, you made it just described a union.
Seriously, like I would say, I'm noticing what Zensid says in the chat. I think there's a fundamental difference between this and social engineering, because social engineering is about manipulating people to get what you want, whereas this is about getting people to think and make an informed decision, and think about what they want and how they want the world to be. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to, you know, it makes sense. Like the idea of, oh, I want my life to be better is the reasonable idea.
Whoa, communist!
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, like, why do you think things like McCarthyism like is still around today? This like violent suppression of Marxism, violent suppression of any sort of like success of any sort of collective movement. Like in my opinion, Bernie Sanders was sabotaged by the establishment, not because of his like, you know, wanting to tax people a little bit more, but because he represents an actual like organized working class movement succeeding. And I think that they had to make sure that didn't happen to maintain this idea that like, you know, there's not even a possibility, because it is so genuinely a thing. When people come together, it's inevitable that communism succeeds. It's inevitable that like even no, like, I think that, bigotry is always trying to violently push itself in front of us to distract us, because without that, it is very clear what's happening. It's very clear that there's a ruling class oppressing the working class.
And I think this is a good thing, like, to talk about like what the end goal is, because the IWW's stated end goal is the abolition of wage labor and all its forms. And like, I think the what you just touched on is important. Like, we don't just want to fight for better wages. We don't just want to fight for everyone to have dental. We specifically want to own the means of production. And the idea of the workplace committee that's formed in a union movement eventually replacing management and becoming a workers' cooperative is, I think, something that is an end goal. We want to and then eventually that through that, like, ending capitalism. And there's lots of ways you can do that sort of thing. Like, I know that some places will try and make the shop unprofitable and have the community buy it out, or others will physically seize the workplace.
Wait, the first one was very interesting. I never even heard of this. So can you explain that? The workers make the store unprofitable? How do they do that?
So this is something which they used to do in Germany. It's now horrendously illegal. But what some syndicalist unions would do is they would actually go on strike to tank the stock of a company, then have the union or a union bank actually buy the stock of the company and buy a controlling share.
Why is that
and then
illegal?
Turn it into
Corporations do stock buybacks all the time, or at least in America they do them all the time. Corporations manipulate the line all the time for their own benefit. This is like
because it goes against the capitalist class.
I mean, I know why. Yeah, exactly. But like,
but like that's. At the end of the day, that method does rely on the mechanisms of capital, and that's why they made it illegal. But like, at the end of the day, I think we are like through like one of the things to get back all the way around to the start about not seeking legal recognition is it frees you to, and it kind of almost like means that you constantly have to be on the attack. Or your rights will backslide. And that happens anyway. And even if a workplace is legally recognized, because the employers will overwhelm the union with paperwork such that they can't actually do anything. But when once we have what we want in the workplace, what do we want? We want the workplace. We want to own the workplace and use it for a common good.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's fucking go.
That's really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like when you own a workplace and when you own like other workplaces that form part of a supply chain for that industry, you can just stop charging for it. Like
that's
you can
dictatorship of the proletariat. Am I right?
Yeah, because you own the means of production.
You run a Wendy's, but you're like, eat food. Wendy's, let's just give food away because we literally make the food. We literally ship the food. Everything is done by workers, but for some reason we're still like, can I please? We're still like focusing. It is absurd when you really think about it. Chat, I wanted you all to do a thing. Look around you right now, everyone, and hosts.
Right now,
hosts, Matilda. Look around you right now, okay? And look at all of the things that workers made.
Wow.
Okay. The internet.
I mean, everything here is a huge trash dump.
Now look at all the things.
It's very good with Mule's green screen as well. Like,
what do you mean green screen? This is just where I live. What are you talking about? There's no green screen here.
Now look at all the things that the ruling class has made.
Yeah.
Zero.
Right.
I'm trying to find one.
This is why it's so. Honestly, it's sometimes when I'm really stoned, I'll get like extremely frustrated because I'm like, "Yo, bro." Literally, we do all the shit. Why are we not just giving food away at Wendy's? Why don't we just like, hey, here's some food, here's some housing? Like, we're doing it all. Like we're.
What is the fucking verse? It's we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like that. So just dropping in a little bit of Matrix there. It's like when I think Morpheus. I don't know if it's Morpheus that says it. It's someone who says it, but it's like once you've been unplugged, it's super, super hard to plug yourself back in.
I think it was Morpheus.
You can't unsee the stuff that you've seen once you realize what a fucking charade it all is.
I've spoken about that before. Like how it's like sometimes you're just like, man, I wish I could just go back to like not thinking about this stuff, because it's, you know, like, but I think like in a way it's like it's actually like quite liberating to kind of, you know, like once you've, you know, like
it's the
taken the
definition of liberating.
Yep.
Yeah. But like, you know, like sometimes
right.
you're just like, man, like look at these happy people that don't know what's
moment.
going on.
They're not happy is the thing.
That's the thing, you're right. Yeah. It's simulated
happiness. Pretending because they're like, we just have to, you know, that's just the way things are.
Yeah, you're so right.
At this moment, my brother's wedding. Oh, my brother's, this is so fucking personal, but my brother is me if I stayed on that path. We both went to pharmacy school to become pharmacists, even though we didn't want to become pharmacists because it was like a very nice, like stable wage, and you just got into the pharmacy school, so it was an opportunity to get 6 years, just pass, and you get a doctorate. And he kept going down that route, and I just threw it out, and I just moved and just did all this weird shit, and now look at me. And like, I went to his wedding and he's like married and he's smiling and he's expecting his first kid. He's a landlord, of course. My whole family's landlords. And it seems like he's very happy. And my sister is kind of the same. It seems like she's pretty happy. And it's like, what is that? Like,
I mean, they're happy because they're like the fucking employing class.
Right. Exactly.
So that's a secret. We just all become landlords. Okay.
But here's the thing. I don't even think so look at Elon Musk on Twitter. He looks like a miserable baby who is just constantly trying to get the like attention and approval of randos on the internet with his little like pickle dick fucking Rick shit.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like he's actually a happy person.
That's it. And it's like, it's that state mandated happiness, right? It's like the happiness that you're allowed to have, you know, not the actual freedom and stuff. And you have to sort of look at it like, you know, what kind of person desperately gets to the position of these billionaires to feel like, because they're desperate to feel like some kind of happiness, like they're told that this is what they should do, and that's how you get it. And they get there and they're not fucking happy. And so they lose their fucking minds like Elon Musk, and they start like, you know,
he's become more of an asshole. So I'm pretty sure, like, how can a happy person be like just an asshole to people? Doesn't seem right.
He's not been the same since Grimes became a comrade.
Since what? Oh yeah, right, yeah. True
I
comrade.
Cannot with her. I just cannot with her. Anyways.
I remember. I just remember he was being like transphobic on Twitter, and Grimes was like tweeting him and being like, "Babe, this isn't you. I know this isn't you." And it's like, you don't know him.
Like frantically running across
and
the mansion.
everyone was like, we know him. He is this. He's so obviously this. And by the way, his transphobia, even his transphobia sucks. He's like, pronouns are lame. Like, what? Like, all of them?
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said. Yeah.
Like, so you don't, so what do you, how do you refer to people? You just, like, what is that? Like, he doesn't even know how to be transphobic sufficiently. He's just
he's just like an edgy teenager.
I have a half a beer and I'm like, getting all.
But anyway, if you want to fight against, you're fine. You're absolutely fine, sweetie. No, but like fucking, if like you know, if you want to fight against transphobia, there's a really good thing you can do. You know, it's called starting a union.
Yeah.
She's fucking right. Holy shit.
No, but like for real, like, you know, you organize your fucking workplace. You fucking. I know I've been a bit of a like dead horse on this, but seriously, like you can set up a fucking affirmative action thing in your workplace, you know, absolutely. Or like fucking make them, you know, there's plenty you can do. I've had a workplace that I was helping to rep for, you know, I'm not going to name names or anything, but the boss, the CEO, a cis-het white man of like a nominally LGBT friendly organization, tried to leverage heterophobia against like the union campaign.
I'm sorry, what kind of phobia?
Heterophobia.
Okay.
Because it's protected under the Equality Act 2010. Like if you're discriminating against straight people, that's actually a protected characteristic.
Oh wow!
Fucking right it is.
Wow.
Yeah. And what counts as like discriminating against straight people? I guess, you know.
Oh my
but
Lord.
Like see, like the bosses didn't have any problem using the same legislation that's meant to protect people against us. So we can't rely just on the legislation. We can't rely just on the law. We have to actually rely on fucking power, because
you have to rely on each other, mutual aid, building strong networks of support, solidarity, blah blah.
This is why your homework is so important, chat. That's why we ask you to do this. And again, we're very, very, we're quite liberal here. You don't have to, do your homework really, but doing it will bring about the end of capitalism. So
it's no biggie. Like if you don't want to end.
What are we thinking of homework for today?
I wanted to ask you, Matilda, because I think that a good thing for people to do, and I guess this kind of depends on people kind of being in a workplace, but not necessarily because there are unemployment unions, but maybe
it can be a place of work, so that could be, if you're a student, that could be your class, or if you're like unemployed, that could be at the job center.
So so I was wondering if you maybe wanted someone to suggest that maybe chat start opening a dialogue with someone about some sort of starting point, maybe something specific for chats is like, hey, say this, because unless two chatters are like gonna run into each other in real life and say to each other, can you imagine?
It could be maybe like try and talk to one of your co-workers outside of work, maybe see if they want to start organizing with you if you think that they're down for it. What I would say is definitely get in touch with the IWW if they're in your area, and take the organizing, take the OT 101, because you don't want to run off half cocked. But what I would definitely say is like, I think for our homework, let's say like fucking talk to one of your workers outside of work.
Outside of work, chat.
Yes.
And I appreciate
outside
Matilda.
of the job center or outside of like the school or whatever,
I really appreciate how much you're emphasizing like keeping chatters or whoever, I call them all chatters, but keeping chatters safe. That like you're saying, do it outside of work, because sometimes I feel like people are like, yeah, we're just gonna do it. We're in revolution. It's like we have to care about people. Okay, I care if someone cannot afford their insulin. That matters, right? If they can't afford rent, it's important that people.
I don't want you to get fired for trying to organize.
Right. So let's do it outside of work.
I guess just like be smart about it. Like if you want to like organize outside of work, but you don't know how to do that, like maybe just sort of, if you've had like a particularly hard day at work, which is most days, let's face it, just say to one of your colleagues, yo, that was a shit day, innit? And they'll be like, yeah,
say
that
something
fucking
subversive.
Sucks. Yeah, and then like, do you want to go for a pint? Do you want to go for a pint?
Bitch
something like that.
Bitch about our
I would personally recommend. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I'm just rambling.
I was just saying, I would personally recommend if you're meeting with people for a one-on-one where you try and get them on side, or where you try and talk about like their problems in the workplace. And this is purely a preference for me. I tend to prefer places that didn't serve alcohol, because if folks get drunk, they might commit to things that they don't actually want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Friezo in the chat says a good thing that I think is important. Get in touch with the IWW, even if they're not in your area, because we actually also do distance / online OT 101 trainings. I ran an OT 101 recently for a guy in fucking Belgium.
Oh, that's great.
That's cool.
I love that. Belgium guy.
Yeah.
Belgium guy.
Yeah. Unionizing.
Cool.
That's phenomenal.
So yeah, I mean that's awesome, because I was wondering if there was anything like that that would be helpful to people down here in like New Zealand and Australia and stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I feel like it's one of those things where where you want to meet people probably depends a lot on the workplace and like the kind of relationship that you already have with people, right? Like for some people it might be like, oh, it's easy for us just to just go down to the cafe down the street after we finish
and
up.
Make sure that somewhere where you're not gonna bump into anyone from work, because if your boss comes to the cafe, then they might be like, what are they talking about? What are all these cards?
Yeah. I saw, Mule and Tim down at the pub, and they were like brandishing hammer and sickles and
So I think Crad Babes has a good question. Like back when I was working in a pub, I managed to rally all my fellow workers to the cause of unionizing and fighting back against management, but I hit a brick wall when it came to actually making it official. I didn't know I had to contact my industries union. If I had to contact my industries union, who I declared this to, if we would have our own pub-specific union, it was very confusing. So what I would say is, if you decide to join the IWW, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. We will try and organize with you and give you support because we're for all workers.
That's awesome.
But like, if you want to organize in a specific industry, what I would say is, like, get in touch with whichever union you think kind of seems the most right to you, and then ask them phone them up for advice, because they might give you advice, and if they're the wrong union, they might tell you. Just like, what I would say is, if possible, try to find a solidarity union, a union who organizes based on solidarity, rather than one which relies on people coming in and taking over from you. Because there's a hospitality union in my city, which I'm not going to name because this is a bit defamatory, but they have this one particular organizer who I fucking hate because he kills campaigns. What he does is they send him in, he pushes everyone really hard and basically becomes the boss of the campaign, and then he leaves, and then the union collapses as soon as he's
Sounds like an NGO set up in, like, this is very NGO-y.
So like, what I would say is just you want to try and organize the union in your workplace, like, and get it solid and make sure that it is run by and for the workers. But like, remember that, like, getting legal recognition isn't the end all be all. You know, it isn't like that your work isn't done if you decide to shoot for legal recognition, or if you don't get legal recognition. You know,
how, like, ironic, or whatever the word is, that, like, in order to feel like you are able to, like, organize against the oppression, you have to get oppression's approval so that you can.
Jules has I hope it's okay for me to answer these questions.
Go for it. This is great.
Okay. So, Jules, I like your question. How do you unionize companies where you don't see your coworkers face to face and they're all over the world? I like this. This is a good question because with the pandemic, we've had to answer this a lot. Actually, with organizing, we've had a lot of tech workers reach out to our branch, our general members branch in Edinburgh, asking for advice on this very thing. So there's a couple ways. So very often, and this is a bit silly, but very often your boss fucks up and will send an email out with everyone in the CC field rather than the BCC field. And when they do that, you now have the email address of everyone in the company. So
you got to save them.
Another thing you could do is organize something innocuous, like say, hey, let's have a charity stream, or like a movie watch, or like a charity like gaming party. We're all going to play Among Us or whatever. And when you're doing that, that's a good opportunity to talk to people outside of company computers, and then get, you know, their contact details, their email address or whatever. Say, hey, you know, it was really nice talking to you today. Can we have a wee chat? And like, ask for their email address, whatever, and you might get it. You know, it's kind of almost quite similar to organizing offline, because the online basically just extends the same panopticon. I've over the last couple of years or so, I've basically like realized more and more, like between like fucking Bitcoin and between like this gig economy shit, capitalists have no fucking new ideas. All they do is they reuse the same old ideas, but like hide them behind a screen.
Capitalism again, like
you're you know, the organizing through Slack, it's the same as organizing in a workplace where there's a big panopticon with security cameras, which is the same as the boss hiring the Pinkertons to watch everyone. You know, your Bitcoin is the same as like Ubisoft paying like their workers in Bitcoin or with NFTs or whatever for the bonus. It's the same as company script. You know, Uber is the same as just hiring whoever looks the fittest from the docks and then trying to get them. It's just they never come up with new ideas. They just come up with new ways to get around the fact that unions fought and fucking died to stop them doing this shit. And at the end of the day, the same, like researching the history research in the history of the labor movement is actually very useful, because the same techniques they used are likely to work for you as well.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that we got the history early on, because it's so important to realize that. We're just coming to the end. We're kind of a little bit over now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no,
this
absolutely
has been such
fine.
A
like
fun. I love this conversation.
It's been really good.
And before I forget,
we've still got.
I want to say, Matilda, real quick. I don't know if you know this, but my chat is actually unionized against me. They have a chat. They have a union badge, and it's called chat. It's called, what is it called? Chat. Do you know what the badge is? Chat. Chat. Do you know what the badge is? Yeah. So my chat's unionized against me, and there's their union badge, and I refuse to.
I think I need a plugin to see this.
Oh yeah, well you can see it. Or you can see it if you. I don't know if you can see the stream, but yeah, they have it. Yeah, you need a plugin. You need an extension. But yeah, it's It looks
cute.
like, yeah.
It looks like a WWIU.
Oh, does it? Yeah. Well, they make demands of me, like play this stupid game called Marbles, and I say no. Yeah.
Play Marbles.
Their only demand is play Marbles, and I never say yes. But like, you know what? Doesn't mean that unions don't work. It just means that chat.
Their bosses are evil.
Yeah. In the IWW's group chat, our thing is the onion emoji, because it sounds like union.
Nice. Yes,
it's cute.
Love that.
That is really good.
And onions also have layers. You know, the first step, don't get caught. The second step, yeah. The first of us should know about your union is everyone walking into his office and making your demands. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That's actually that's really good.
Boss, if you do the OT 101, we'll tell you about it. It's a really good roleplay.
There you go.
So I think when we tweeted out about the thing, we tagged you in it, so everyone should jump over onto Twitter and follow Dalma on Twitter there. And I guess like if have you got a link to where people can sign up do the OT 101 or anything like that? Or
so we our branch has actually, you just missed it. We just
okay.
We just run it. You don't have to follow me. I don't want too much attention because I'm worried about people being weird. But
yeah. Don't be weird.
Weirdos on the internet.
Oh, what? Yeah,
so here's the link. Just iww.org.uk. If you're what to do is just email the organizing department and ask for an OT 101. Tell them where you're based. If you're outside the UK, then it'll be just the same URL minus UK. If you're based in Scotland, I might be running it for you. So just email me at edinburgh@iww.org.uk.
Cool.
The only thing I'm happy to promote is I did just do a nice little zine, if I can talk about that.
Oh yeah, you did. I saw that in Discord. Yeah.
I did a little zine recently. You'll see on my Twitter, but called "Our Spaces Were Not Made for Us," about organizing, or specifically about social media, sex work, and art.
Ooh.
Yes.
And it's got some comics and a very long essay.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds dope.
And where can we find that?
Oh, I'll just put a link in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Shoot that in the chat. There you go.
So I think what we're gonna do next is maybe quickly ask chat if they did their homework, because we are over time. Ask chat if they did their homework from last week. It was to basically be a cyber creep on yourself and see how much you can uncover if a person who wants to do you ill were to want to track you down and find information about you, how much they could find about you. Press 1 in the chat if you did it. Press 0 if you didn't. You failed to do it. You failed is a 0. No pressure.
All right, we got some ones.
Look at all the ones.
Nice.
Oh, Ellie with the first 0. Ellie.
That's too bad. By the way, I'm not trying to cause any homework anxiety on people. It's all fun and games. Don't worry. There's no penalties. You don't have to feel like a bad person.
You can still do it. You still good.
Homework anxiety is agitation.
Right.
And then you do education.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm being revolutionary when I call you a failure. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, very good chat. Well, yeah, the homework for the next week is to just like concisely we'll say like start a conversation out of work with a person in your workplace about how, you know, something subversive about how work sucks, about how your wages suck, about how your treatment sucks, something like that. Something that is like you know, kind of what's a label for that? Like I would say like organizing language or like what is
questions.
What was that again?
Maybe like open questions, you know, rather than saying what like do you like this? Say what do you think about this? How does this make you feel? And then go between that and then what can we do about this? You know, agitate, educate, agitate, educate.
Agitate, educate. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much, Matilda. This was really great. And I feel like chat has a million more questions. So I wouldn't be surprised if we bother you in the future because you've been wonderful. And like, I see chat like, oh, I have all these questions. But
I'm happy to help.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah. So can we get some bung claps in the chat or bung clap F if you're not a sub in the chat to thank Matilda for being so kind to come to our show and share so much awesome information and just be a general delight. Can I say you've been wonderful?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're great.
And I know you said you were like a little bit nervous, but you did phenomenal.
That actually does mean a lot to me. I'm like not to be TMI, but I was fucking shiting myself.
Listen, you know, if to connect with you on that, I shite myself every episode. Like I'm always shitting myself.
Okay, I told my chat this that before every time I go live, I have to shit. Like it's an emergency. Like even if I just live, I'm like I have to go.
Every time I see starting a stream, I'm just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, just shit."
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's not a secret. Everyone in my community is like extremely aware of my like my regularity or lack thereof.
Just have a little nervous poo. It's
sorry to be ruined. And what was a nice evening with this.
Oh, you're fine. It's working class banter.
That's right.
See, I'm going more Scottish now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Matilda,
you're great. And so, I think we shouted you out sufficiently, right, to make sure that we have.
You're shooting me out plenty. I'm a bit nervous with all the attention. It makes me embarrassed.
Oh, you're so cute. Well, let's do a quick shout out for Mule, and then one for Tim, and then we'll say goodbye. And we'll do our full screen of me thanking people for donations and subs, and that's when chat will cough up more money for me because you know.
Great. It's me. I'm DJ Mule. I am a Twitch streamer. You can find me on twitch.com. Sorry, it's not twitch.com, twitch.tv/DJ Mule, exactly as it's spelled underneath, but it's lowercase. Or you could get me on Twitter. I'm at DJ Mule _, or you could get me on YouTube, which is DJMU3L. I do Dark Souls speedruns now. That's all I do. I'm not a political streamer anymore. I just do speedruns. My personal best is 1 hour 57. I'm very good. Please follow me. Please support me. It's so
really good.
I'm literally so hyper focused on it at the moment. It's ridiculous. All I can think about is
do you have ADHD? What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wait, did I mention that? Did I mention that?
A streamer that has ADHD?
Wait, have I got ADHD?
Oh my
what are we talking about?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Tim.
I'm Tim, or on YouTube and Twitch, I'm Conquest of Dread. I do like video essay kind of like political stuff on YouTube, and then on Twitch I just kind of like stream games. We obviously talk a little bit of politics, but it's more just like, having fun. At the moment I'm playing the Bloodborne PlayStation demake, which is really good. It's like an indie game made by a solo dev. She just like remade a good chunk of Bloodborne, but in PlayStation 1 style graphics and sound and everything. It's extremely good. It's free, and they just added like split screen co-op and everything. So it's like like an awesome thing. And it's awesome. It's just like a solo trans woman dev that just made it in her spare time, and it's like blowing up. And it's it's
I played a little bit of that. It was too hard for me. But if you're into hard games, then like that's your thing. Eh?
So it's like elite gamer game. Got it.
Oh, it's not that bad, but they really lean into like emulating the old PlayStation feel. So like the camera controls and like, and you know, like you don't play with the joysticks, you play with the D-pad. Yeah, and you got to use the little shoulder buttons to do the controls, which is really authentic.
It's really
makes
crunchy.
it pretty.
I like
it makes it pretty tough.
The way the camera works in it is very
it's
satisfying.
very authentic. But so that's what we're doing at the moment, but we'll probably finish that up and maybe get into Elden Ring when that comes out at the end of the week.
Are you streaming tonight, Tim?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. And then Mule, when are you streaming
next? It's like a long time from now.
I'll be streaming tomorrow next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
And Tim, I'm just gonna drop this here, but like I don't know, maybe you might want to co-op some Elden Ring with me. That would be cool.
Yes, we should. Yeah, absolutely.
Or anyone in the you know.
Yeah.
I would be up for that.
But yeah. That's us. So and I think so Nicole's gonna take over and lead us out with all the read out all the whatever has been going on.
Subs and bits and all that.
But yeah, thanks everyone for coming to hang out. Thanks
thanks for having me.
You're wonderful.
You're very welcome. Yes. Absolutely loved it.
Okay. Bye y'all. See ya.
Bye.
All right, cool. See ya. We'll see y'all later on.
Okay. Another day. Another day.
You cannot see.